Hi, it's the Herd. SeatGeek is always the first place you should go to look for tickets to a game or concert. They search multiple ticket sites, ensuring that you get the best possible deal. That's SeatGeek. They do all the work, save you time and money. To get a $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab and click add a promo code. And that promo code will be HERD. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code HERD today.
This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1 on a Friday. 1 hour from now, our Blazing 5 picks. We are off another winning week. Christine Leahy joining me.
How was your night last night, Colin?
I went to bed. I went to bed earlier than you because we both ran into each other at a restaurant.
We did.
And
I stayed later.
Yeah, you stayed late, really late. I got to bed early and can't sleep. It's the supermoon or something.
Well, the supermoon I think is gone now, but I do think it affects you in many ways.
I asked a couple people this morning in the meeting, and 3 of us have had terrible weeks
of sleep.
And it's the supermoon, and the supermoon has some sort of superpower with my super brain, and it's recalibrating it or something. I can't figure it out. What the hell's happening?
I can't blame the supermoon. I was just out way too late.
So we know that America has a little bit of a distrust with the media. Boy, especially after this election. Who can you trust, right? America, and you have every right not to trust the media all the time. I mean, we know in the political genre, people just taking sides. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it. I can't tell political media and Hollywood apart on social media. It's all one-sided, right? So that's why anonymous sources can be kind of difficult. Well, I mean, you just making it up. Well, I don't know anybody that makes them up, but I guess there's probably been somebody that's made some sources up. I don't, but somebody probably has. But when somebody is willing to put a name on a source or a criticism, when somebody's willing to put their name on it and criticize somebody, that's powerful, especially when it's criticizing a star. For years and years, small town Green Bay put their cheese hats on. You cannot criticize Aaron Rodgers. Uncle Colin got clobbered when he did by the local big market media out there in Wisconsin. Boy, they took it to me. But my sources were right, and I trusted my sources. One of my sources has now come out years later, Greg Jennings, and criticized Aaron publicly, so I feel I can say that he was one of my 3 sources who said, dude's hard to get along with. Well, look at this morning. Another former Favre teammate blasted him. Folks, it's no longer anonymous sources. Aaron can't say, you guys aren't in our practice. You're not in our locker room. We've now got Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jermichael Finley came out this morning. Quote, it was all about Aaron's game and his stats. He kept grudges close to his chest. If you did something, he never really let it go. I just don't think he was a natural-born leader. He wasn't put on this earth to lead. We also know his brother called him out. According to 2 sources, I had this confirmed last night. His parents have to buy their own tickets to go to Lambeau. So he doesn't get along with his mom, his dad, his brother. Randall Cobb this week, a current teammate, took a thinly veiled shot at Aaron Rodgers. Quote, we must stick together. The more we point fingers, the worse it's going to be. Yeah, that was after Aaron said we lack energy. Sorry, cheeseheads. It's no longer anonymous sourcing. Do you know how much you have to dislike or resent a guy, your brother, to go on national TV or to the national media and be quoted? When I said Jay Cutler and Aaron Rodgers were closer together than further apart, Packer fans were outraged. I said Aaron Rodgers is Jay Cutler with a ring. I'm not sure Jay Cutler has taken this many salvos and shots and missiles. It's not that I'm anti-Aaron Rodgers, but it's part of the story, and a protective local Green Bay media doesn't want to talk about it. Yes, I've been on this for years, but this morning we've got 2 more guys that were in the room. And stop attacking people who have the guts to call him out. Green Bay media, get on this. Come on, take off the cheese hats. Take off the green football sweater. You got a real story here. This is real drama. You got a guy nobody likes. And for the record, don't you believe for a second that Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy get along. I will tell you, and look at the camera, they don't. I've been told that multiple times. Aaron badmouths him in private conversations and not so private conversations. They don't get along. Finally, these are not anonymous sources anymore. Multiple guys on his team. I mean, Jeff Pearlman wrote it in his book and got it confirmed by a former teammate. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers had a bumpy relationship.
Rodgers walks into the cafeteria, and Favre's the only one sitting there. He's reading a newspaper. It's the worst pickup line of all time. He says, "Good morning, Grandpa," to Favre. And, you know, they would be in a meeting, and he was like, "Hey, Brett, what'd you get on the Wonderlic?" And I don't know what the hell I got on a Wonderlic. And yeah, I got a 35. You got a 22. I looked it up.
Okay. So again, Pearlman's ready to go out and say that. Pearlman wrote a book. Pearlman had it quoted. Mike Florio, Pearlman, Driver, Finley, Jennings, over. Randall Cobb this morning. I mean, come on. Come on. It's a real story. Stop being protective. Reporters, not supporters. What you get paid to do. If I'm finding it out here, how are you not hearing that stuff? You're covering them. You're at practice every day. So there is a big difference. Let me shift gears. There is a big difference between a great quarterback or a great anything and a star. So Carolina beat New Orleans last night. Cam Newton is a star. Cam Newton's a star. He's not a great quarterback. Last night, 17 first downs, 200 yards, 14 of 33. 10 of the points last night of the 23 were off gaffes by New Orleans. Our society, though, let me say this, rewards stars. If you had to be Robert Horry with 7 titles or Charles Barkley with none, you're much better off being Robert Horry. You're much better being off Charles Barkley, Charles Barkley's a star in America. You'd rather be Barkley than Robert Horry. Horry's got 7 titles. Barkley, because of his stardom, has none, but will have $1 million opportunities for the next 25 years broadcasting. We just had a star, not a political machine, elected president. Being a star in America, what are the Kardashians great at? They're stars. Cam Newton is not a great quarterback. We just see it time and time and time. Put up the stats on Cam Newton's career. He is below the NFL average in completion percentage, passing yards a game, TD interception ratio, and passer rating. He's below the average. Forget stars. And I've always had a belief with Cam Newton, is that Cam Newton's an outcome guy. He's not a process guy. Russell Wilson, first year in the league, would be on his Instagram and Twitter account taking pictures saying, 5 a.m., headed to the facilities, can't wait. It was June. Cam Newton earlier this week, remember when he was talking about celebrations? He had a very revealing moment when Cam was talking about celebrations. I thought it was really revealing about Cam. It was as authentic and honest as a guy can get. Listen closely here to Cam.
Football is hard, man. I can't stress it enough. This is a tough sport. It's physical. It's scoring a touchdown, getting a sack, getting a win, let alone all that bottled up and staying here at 10 at night, here at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Bottled up.
Everything, all the energy that you put, spending time away from your family, all that bottled up into being able to do exactly what you planned and foresaw yourself doing. You're owed something.
People caught the owed something. But did you see how he described work? I'm bottled up. I'm trapped inside. Russell Wilson isn't a thank God it's Friday guy. Tom Brady's a thank God it's Monday guy. There's process people. Process people love Monday. They can't wait to go to work. Cam wants to get to the games. Cam likes the outcome. He wants to be the grand marshal. When asked about practice, film study, Cam's opinion was, I'm bottled up here. It's work. Remember when we had Phillip Rivers on our show? Phillip Rivers is going to be a Hall of Famer. Remember what Phillip Rivers said when I asked him practice and games, compare the two?
I enjoy the challenge of that. I enjoy Monday to Saturday. I think that's why I'm so excited still about playing as long as I can, because I like Monday to Saturday better than I do Sundays, because the preparation part of it, figuring out an opponent, studying our game plan, making the adjustments, that's my favorite part of the whole deal.
Tom Brady multiple times has won the practice award in New England over all the other players. Mike Lombardi will come on our show. I've had multiple friends in this business who have said, Brady, first in, last out. Kobe Bryant loved practice. Shaq didn't. Shaq liked the outcome. Kobe liked the process. Saban loves the process. So it's really funny when I watched Cam last night. Let's just come to terms with it. 6 years in, he's below the vital stats for quarterback. He is a star, and our society rewards stars. He's not a great quarterback. Well, the MVP. Derrick Rose won an MVP. Okay. You can go back in the history of MVPs, popularity contest. Derrick Rose won an MVP. Okay. Watching Cam last night, he does nothing pre-snap. You ever notice he's not great pre-snap? You know why? Because pre-snap, that's film study. That's process work. Greg Cosell yesterday came on our show. I thought it was a fairly remarkable quote about Cam Newton 6 years into his career.
I think Cam is a function of a run game. I don't think he's the kind of quarterback that can be really effective unless the run game is the starting point.
Yeah.
And they've not run the ball with any stability or continuity this year.
Now think about that. So Cam Newton, 6'6", 240, cannon arm, great mobility, much more talent than almost anybody I've ever seen play quarterback. And he's not the guy that can lead you. Why? Obviously. Then put the work in. I'm not committed to it. I mean, he's bigger than Tom. He's bigger than Aaron. He's bigger than Russell. He's bigger than Luck. He's stronger. He's faster. Got all the tools. I'm putting the time. That's it. What would it be? So I thought it was, when I watched them last night, you'd rather be Charles Barkley than Robert Horry. And Cam's going to go down as a guy. He'll be an American star, and it will pay him handsomely. And we have multiple examples in America where stars can have great success. But just don't confuse star quarterback with great quarterback. Cam's not a great quarterback. 6 years, one great one. And that team was led by its unbelievable defense, and the winning streak was during a time in which he played the worst schedule in the league, tied with the Jets. That's his real career. Star, not great. Good to have you in on a Friday. Blazing Fives coming up in 45 minutes. Oh, it's so good to be here. We both went out last night and just happened, Christine and I, to bump into each other at the same restaurant. I went home early. You went home at some
way later,
ungodly hour. But I got to tell you something. You know what's remarkable about Los Angeles? It's incredible. You know, obviously there's a lot of people here, right? Like New York's got like 15 million people or something, and Boston's got 7, and Chicago's got 7, and LA's got 10 or something. There's a lot of people. Don't you think it's amazing sometimes when you get on the freeway in Los Angeles and it's 10:13?
You still had traffic.
Traffic? Bumper to bumper at 10:13 on a Thursday night. Can I just say this to Los Angeles? Go to bed so I can drive home after dinner and not deal with that. 10:13 last night. 4:05. Packed.
Well, why were you taking the 405?
But I don't like to use Wave. I don't want to drive through people's neighborhoods. I'm not into that. I've told you that before. I don't want to use that.
There are other ways you can do it.
10:13.
It's crazy.
Packed.
It's crazy.
Gridlock. Freeway didn't move.
How long were you at dinner last night? What time did you start?
Hour and a half. Saw Larry King, too.
I know. I brought him over to your table.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Coming up next, I thought this was... So this is a comment that it was just sort of thrown out there this morning by an NFL coach, and I was like, wow. That will be the comment heard around NFL general manager front offices this weekend. That's next.
Hi, it's The Herd. Buying tickets online for sports and concerts has always been kind of a confusing process for a long time. Always been hard to find the best deal for that game or show you want to do. And none of those older ticket sites, they don't want to change that. But SeatGeek is different. They've come along and created an amazing app and website that makes it easier than ever for you and I to buy and sell tickets. SeatGeek is the place you should go and I go to look for tickets to a game or a concert. Everything about SeatGeek is designed to make life easier. They do all the price comparison for you by searching multiple ticket sites. And they want to help you get the most bang for your buck. That's why every ticket on SeatGeek is given a grade based on value. So you immediately see any underpriced seats and you find the best deals that fit your budget. Best of all, my listeners in The Herd get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. So to get your $20 rebate, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab and click add a promo code, and then just enter HERD. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first purchase. Download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code HERD today.
So this was just this morning at a press conference. It immediately got tweeted out when Bill Belichick, coach of the Patriots, said this. He's talking about Tom Brady's health. And he segues into Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's just kind of interesting. I've said before, Tom's 39, going to be 40 next year. Generally, quarterbacks can keep it going for a while, but they fall off a cliff at about 40 or 41. Brett Favre did that. And Bill Belichick's going to make the best quarterback football, quote, salary cap choice. We know this about Belichick. He's a bottom line guy. We know this. We know that he loves Brady, or likes him, business relationship. But we know Bill's all about football and salary cap and bottom line. So here's a random quote this morning talking about Tom Brady's health, and it segues into Garoppolo.
Certainly we have a good quarterback in Jimmy, and Jimmy can go out there and run everything that Tom can run. We've seen that. And when we put Jimmy in there, it's really seamless. You can't, unless you were actually looking at the position, if you just could block out that position and say which guy was in there quarterback, I don't know if you would know a lot of times.
That is not cool.
See, I think it clarifies the air. I think it lets Tom know. I think it lets Garoppolo know. I think other general managers hear that. See, you're bothered by that.
If I'm Tom Brady, I am P-word at that. Can I say that? I'm mad.
But it clarifies things, does it not? There's no secret.
Do you think he's being honest?
I think he ad-libbed a question. I think Bill Belichick is authentic. I like authentic people.
Do you think he's being authentic there?
Yeah, he's saying, listen.
He looks at them as interchangeable quarterbacks?
Well, you watched them the first couple of weeks.
They're not interchangeable.
Well, Garoppolo's a younger, more mobile version of kind of Tom. He looks, his arm right now is stronger, and he's more mobile. So like Dak with Tony Romo, the young athlete can do some things better than the older athlete, even if the older athlete's a Hall of Famer. But Garoppolo's more mobile than Brady. In fact, that's how he got hurt. It got him into trouble. And he's got a better arm down the field. Tom doesn't throw the ball. Now, Tom will throw like 20, 25. Tom doesn't complete many deep balls anymore. His accuracy is great. His mid-range is great. He throws the ball like that to Gronk right there is a 25-yard strike. Tom's fine with that, and you win Super Bowls that way. But Tom doesn't air it out down the field. So all basically he's saying is it's pretty interchangeable when you watch him playing our offense. I thought it was, by the way, multiple reporters ran to Twitter and put that.
Sure. So what are you saying he's trying to get across? What does it clear the air for?
Well, first of all, he ad-libbed it. I don't think it was scripted. I don't think he had some, this wasn't Belichick trying to create controversy. He asked him, and then Bill remember, Bill occasionally will ad-lib at a press conference. Mostly bad, but occasionally when it's something he wants to talk about.
Right.
I just had a friend that talked to Bill Belichick last weekend and was on the field and talking to Bill Belichick. And if you get the right question about football, Belichick will ramble. He loves football. And this is one of these situations. He's talking about Garoppolo, and he's saying, they're kind of interchangeable.
Oh, you think it was like it just came out?
It just came out, and he's telling you what he's seeing on the field. You think it was some sort of planned? I mean, it was a.
I don't think it just came out.
Well,
Does
it was
he
this.
Really think that Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady? It doesn't make a difference who you put in.
Well, I think he said that it's seamless.
I just feel like Tom's done so much for the team, and
that's
to
different.
Say that.
Okay, that's
really.
Yeah, that's is Bill insensitive? Perhaps, probably.
Yes.
Yes, he's insensitive. But so don't be a football coach in the NFL if it's all about sympathy and PC. You're going to have to scream at guys all the time. You're hurting feelings and cutting guys, and that means they go home and tell their wife and their kids, Daddy's unemployed.
Well, if anything, he's showing Tom that he is just one of the guys.
One of the guys. I just thought it was a quote. I mean, play the quote again. It's pretty honest. It's not like it was the lead thing he said. He kind of segued into it. The second part of a question asked later in a press conference. Here it is again.
Certainly we have a good quarterback in Jimmy, and Jimmy can go out there and run everything that Tom can run. We've seen that. And when we put Jimmy in there, it's really seamless. You can't, unless you were actually looking at the position, if you just could block out that position and say which guy was in there quarterback, I don't know if you would know a lot of times.
Oh, gosh.
So that really lands tough, harsh for you.
Yeah, because he's being a jerk. He's just being kind of a jerk, and he doesn't care.
You don't like the care part.
Yeah, I mean, there is something about relationships, right? When you're on a team and having kind of trust in each other. And I think to say something like that is just so demeaning.
Well, Bill's not terribly guarded.
No,
like,
he's not.
In that, like he can be when he doesn't want to give out football information.
Sure.
But when it comes to personnel people, he'll just tell you what he thinks.
I mean, I just think you rub too many people the wrong way.
If I'm a general manager and Bill's all about information, if you're the Rams general manager, and you start Jared Goff this weekend, and I'm Les Snead and Dimitroff, who run that franchise, and Fisher, and I hear that quote, and let's say Goff's awful. Jeff Fisher needs a quarterback. What would you do to get Garoppolo?
Right.
I mean, I just think
But that, to your point, is why I don't think that he's being authentic. I think he's saying what he's saying because it drives the price higher for Jimmy Garoppolo.
You could be right. I don't know that to be true, but you could be right. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
This is actually perfect that we're talking about this because Jerry Jones, who also has two quarterbacks on his hands, just said that he has no thought of not having Tony Romo in 2017. So according to him, he has all plans to have Tony Romo on the roster next season. And I'm almost thinking this could be a similar situation. Maybe he's saying that so that he can use it as a bargaining tool and drive up the price of Tony Romo. What do you think?
I think we're going to do this later in the show. You start putting out the 7 quarterbacks who could be available if the Redskins moved off Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tony Romo. I'll just say this. Tony Romo's winning percentage, 61% in this league. That is with when he broke in a bad O-line. He's had several bad defenses. In fact, he's never had an elite defense. He had Wade Phillips, multiple times fired for half his career. For a while, the Cowboys, they didn't have a general manager. Mm-hmm. He inherited a couple of the really bad drafts. And Tony's won 61% of his games. Eli Manning's under that. Phillip Rivers under that. Cam Newton under that. People we consider, great star quarterbacks. I know there's an injury thing here. But remember this. Post 4 neck surgeries, Peyton Manning went to Denver and set records. Set records. You don't think Tony Romo, Arizona would be interesting with Bruce Arians?
It would be.
Old quarterbacks win a lot of games in this league. Drew Brees is old. Peyton Manning was beat up. Those are old guys. Big Ben's now old. Tom Brady's old. Phillip Rivers old. They're all beat up too.
Here's a young quarterback. Rams offensive coordinator Rob Boras says they will not scale back or dumb down the offense for Jared Goff. Now, let me remind you that in college, he never took a snap under center. Yeah. Got all of his plays from the sidelines.
Yeah.
How ugly is this going to be on Sunday?
I am fascinated to watch it. I really am. I can't wait to watch. When's the last time you said with this Rams offense, I cannot wait to get to a television set?
But for all the wrong reasons.
And I mean, for Jeff Fisher, it's been like 7 years. I can't wait to watch a Jeff Fisher offense. Finally, this weekend, I want to say that.
I feel like that's not the right call. You don't keep the offense the same. You kind of have to tailor it to him, don't you? Dumb it down a little. Otherwise, you're going to really embarrass him, which was the fear the whole time. And finally, Michael Jordan inducted Russell Westbrook into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame yesterday. I'm not sure why Michael Jordan was doing that, but we have some sound from this, and it sounds like he might have taken a shot at another guy who spent a lot of time in Oklahoma City.
I'm not here to try to bash anyone that's not here. Everybody has a choice. I'm not saying that you don't have a choice. Everybody has a choice. And when I saw that he chose to stay here in Oklahoma, I was so proud.
Okay, that is shots, right?
No.
At Kevin Durant?
No, you're playing to the room.
You think that's what he was doing?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan's there to celebrate. Probably got paid handsomely. Of course he did. And he is there to say nice things about Russell Westbrook. I don't think that was a shot at all at Kevin Durant. So I was proud of him to stay. I didn't feel like a shot at all to me.
If that wasn't a shot, the audience reaction and some of his teammates and the fact that everyone was cheering really shows they have turned on Kevin Durant.
Yeah, who's got the better team now, Golden State or OKC?
Yeah, they're a lot happier in Golden State.
I'm not anti-loyalty, but let's not celebrate it as always the right choice. I'm not anti-loyalty. I don't cheat on my wife. I'm for lots of loyalty.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
But I don't want to hear that every time an athlete's upwardly mobile, they're a bad person.
No.
Sometimes LeBron had to get out of Cleveland.
I agree.
Larry Hughes, they couldn't get him anybody. Mo Williams, he needed help.
I agree.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
Former
News.
general manager, vice president, player personnel, New England Patriot special assistant. He joins us on Friday, 30 minutes from now, our Blazing 5. It is Mike Lombardi. Okay, I started my show, and I said, okay, there's a difference between anonymous sources and multiple guys, including family members now, willing to come out and say, Aaron's a grudge holder, Aaron doesn't talk to anybody, Aaron's not a good guy. So now Jermichael Finley's like, the guy holds grudges.
Yeah.
And his brother basically said the same thing, and we know he doesn't pay for his family to go to games. And come on, there's something there, Mike, right?
You know, I think you can't not gloss over it. I would say that to be the fact. But I think the player is frustrated with a lot of things, whether it's family, but professionally, with just watching what I watch, you can see a lot of frustration in his play, whether it's the offense, whether it's the players around him. I think there's a lot of frustration. And I think what this tells me is he really doesn't know how to handle that frustration in the proper way. There's ways to do it. Leadership, it requires you to do the right thing. I'm not sure he's doing the right thing here in terms of how he handles it. That I would be critical of Aaron. I've been very, very positive about him, about the players around him.
You're very pro Aaron Rodgers. Can I say this? It feels to me, I know this because I've been told this twice.
Yeah.
By Packers. He and McCarthy don't like each other.
You know, I think you can see some of that. I think there's a frustration. It's like anything. If you run the same offense, look, the reason Tom Brady has been successful is because they evolved the offense. The reason Dan Marino couldn't get young players around him because they evolved the offense and it became more complicated. Green Bay doesn't do that. So he's been learning seventh grade history for the last 10 years. It kind of gets boring. And I think his frustration, and I'm not putting words in Aaron's mouth, is to the fact that the offense doesn't really change very much.
Even when they were winning, it was
the same offense.
It's the same offense.
It's the same offense. It's the same one. Actually, the Giants are a cover band for the hits that used to be played in Green Bay. That's how you look at it. All right, the Giants are they're playing all the old Packer plays. They're just running them in New York. And so there's really no, and I'm sure Eli would suggest to you, and I don't want to speak for Eli, but there's frustration there as well because they don't do a lot. It's a very simplistic offense. Now, I just want to say one thing, Christine. The Rams, to me, the funniest thing that was on this show so far is when somebody said the Rams are going to dumb down their offense.
It was their offensive
I'm not sure it could ever be any dumber. I want to know how they could do that. Divide by 3.
No, they're not going to dumb down their offense.
Because
But the point being is Green Bay's offense is like the Rams, not overly sophisticated.
No, it relies on players, not plays.
And they don't have the players.
They don't have the players.
Okay.
And I think that's where Rodgers' frustration runs in. The Rams, to me, it's battleship football. They just hope they hit, one play, K5 hit, G3 miss. Okay, I'll try J5. It's like that. It's all random.
They're not going to have 13-play drive. They need a big play from Tavon Austin.
And he never gives them one.
Yeah.
They paid him $42 million for a guy that really doesn't do anything. I mean, it's ridiculous. Tyreek Hill, the 5th-round pick of the Kansas City Chiefs, he had issues in college, domestic violence issues coming into the league. That's why he was drafted later. Perhaps shouldn't have been drafted, but he's better at what Tavon Austin is supposed to be, and he's a 5th rounder.
Yes. All right, so I said Cam Newton. There's a difference in America between star and great quarterback. And in America, Trump is a star, became president. Charles Barkley's a star. Robert Ory's got 7 titles. Charles is the guy making millions and millions a year. Our country rewards stars. Cam Newton, to me, is a star. 6 years in, I've got all his numbers here. He's below average, not below Drew Brees. He's below the NFL average in 4 categories. So, and then I hear him talk about things, and he talks about going to work, and I'm trapped here, and I'm bottled in here, and I think to myself, that's not how Nick Saban sees football. That's not how Russell Wilson. One of the first things that blew me away about Russell Wilson, in the off season, 5 a.m. Seattle time, he's like, because it was 8 p.m., it was 8 a.m. in Connecticut where I lived. And so I'd get up in the morning, and it would be 8 a.m., 7:45 a.m., and Russell Wilson's driving to the facility in June.
Right.
And it was my first time. I'm like, holy God, this kid is totally committed. I'm not saying Cam doesn't go and put in the requisite time, but Coach, if you have that much size, arm talent, why isn't he better?
Well, yeah, I think a maturity level certainly comes into play, and I think it's hard for young players to understand when you're rewarded with the MVP, you have to get better and you have to work on it. Well, Cam is never going to be a 65% completion passer.
Why? Why can't he be?
Because the style and the manner of which he throws, he's not a true pocket passer. He likes to move around. The throws are more difficult. But what he has to be is the throw he made last night to Ginn. That was a great throw. Those are the throws he has to make, and if he doesn't make those yards per attempt throws down the field, then all the other stuff, they're trying to evolve an offense around his skill set, which is unique, and you can't deny it.
Oh, good God. Historically unique.
But you can't compare him to some other quarterbacks because his style is so different. And I think where he loses a little bit of luster is because he doesn't work on the areas where he needs to work on, like the accuracy.
So it is commitment.
At times, I think it is. But I've heard often, I've been reliably reported, he does put the time in. Now, does he have a passion and a love for the game? I think that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm not saying he shows up at noon. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I think it's look.
You had Brady. He won the practice award 8 years in a row.
If Brady didn't win the offseason award, he would get mad. I mean, he wanted to win the offseason. And all that got you was a parking spot in front of the building. I mean, that's, it was the little things that mattered. And I think that's where the Jeff Van Gundy quote so relevant is your best player must set intolerance for what gets in the way of winning. And that's where I think Cam doesn't always understand that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers does that either. I think Aaron Rodgers needs to use his ways and his talent in a better fashion in terms of leadership. I'm not talking about the player. The other issue is how he deals with them.
All right, Tony Romo. We were just talking about this, and Jerry says I'm not going to trade him. And I do think you could get something for him.
Right.
I look at the guys on the market potentially. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Fitzpatrick, a couple college kids, Deshaun Watson, that Kaiser kid. There's about 7 guys that could be available. Romo's got a 61% winning percentage. So I know he's the only one on that board that I know can win with a bad offensive line, with a bad defense, with no general manager, with some bad drafts, utter chaos. I don't know if Kirk Cousins without Jay Gruden can win. So what is Romo worth? If you're a general manager in the league today, what's he worth?
Well, that's a great question. But the problem is you've got the contract. So it's really an NBA trade. Does Jerry want to get rid of the contract in order to add other assets to his team? I think that's what the question he's asking. And then Jerry's sitting there saying, I've got Dak, so whoever starts really doesn't matter. I have it already accounted in my cap that I have a starting quarterback. I'm paying Tony Romo. So if something happened to Dak, I'd have another starter, having 2 starters. So he controls it. But my feeling here is that Tony wants to play.
Yes.
And Jerry's going to have to answer that question of Tony wanting to play. So I don't know it's about value. It's about where does Tony want to play. This is, Tony's a family member. I mean, Tony's close to everybody in the Jones family, so they're going to have to come. To me, if I was Tony and I was advising him, I'd say, look, the best place for you to go play, the Houston Texans. Got a really good defense, got a good young team, got a lot of skill around them. You could be really good in Houston. It's not that far from Dallas.
Bill O'Brien's a quarterback guy.
Bill O'Brien's a quarterback guy. You put him in Houston. I think you can take off. Plus, Jerry doesn't have to worry about, I don't want to play against Tony.
He'll be in the AFC.
He'll be in the AFC. That was Al Davis's big thing. We could never trade a player to a team we were going to play or anybody in the West that year.
The Houston Texans.
That's what I would. That's
He's
if I
got
were
two
Tony
good
Romo,
perimeter players.
right? But now Houston has to have truth serum too. They're going to have the honesty pill and say that Brock Osweiler is a disaster. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if they're willing to take that pill. That medicine doesn't go down too good.
Mike Lombardi, former general manager, special assistant to Belichick, comes back. He will give his take on the little.
Okay, good.
This is interesting.
I heard you, Christine.
I know. I thought you were going to be mad at me for calling him a jerk. I thought he was being a jerk.
No, I don't get mad. You have an opinion. It's all good.
So that's coming up next. It's the Herd.
Hi, it's the Herd. I'm going to let you in on a secret, a big one. The key to having a great day starts with having a great night's sleep. And once I upgraded to a Casper mattress, life in the day got better because of the night. Sleeping on my old mattress was an issue. But thanks to Casper, I sleep through the night. 7-8 hours, and I'm not a great sleeper. It's an amazing experience. Invented with 2 high-tech foams, Casper gives you all the support you need. And it's not just me. Time magazine said, Casper mattresses, one of the best inventions of 2015. It ships for free in a box so small, you can't believe it holds a mattress. Make it simple to get from your front door to your bedroom. And try it for 100 nights risk-free. They'll come pick it up. If you don't love it, and I love mine, they'll refund you everything. No questions asked. Start having a great day by getting a better night's sleep. Like I did. Get a Casper. Try it at home. 100 nights with free shipping and returns. Go to Casper.com/relief and use the code RELIEF for $50 toward the purchase of your mattress. Casper.com/relief. Code RELIEF for $50 toward the purchase of your mattress. Casper.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Mike Lombardi just said something, former GM in the NFL, executive special assistant Bill Belichick, that made me laugh out loud. I'll tell you in the Blazing Five, I pick against the New York Giants. And I said it after Monday Night Football. I've never seen a team after Monday Night Football come out of it with a win, be 6-3, and I like them less. There's nothing about the Giants I like. I do like the receiving core.
Right,
Beckham's obviously a huge star, and you had a great line about the New York Giants.
There's no numbers to back them up, so I call them a Ponzi scheme. I mean, it's like Madoff's the coach of the team. They're going to that floor. You can't support anything that they're doing. There's no numbers that say, I'm talking offensively here, that this is really a good offense.
They can't run the football.
Oh, no, and that's my point is now, November, December, you got to win those 3rd and 1s. You got to convert them. They're one of the worst teams in the league on 3rd and 1 because they can't run the football. At some point, you're the New York Football Giants. You got to run the ball. They can't do it. I think all their numbers, Eli's the worst quarterback in the league against the blitz, or the 31st quarterback. How is that possible?
And they're 6-3 in a pretty good division.
I know. They turn the ball over. They can't convert 3rd downs.
The pass rush is totally hit and miss.
Tell me why I should like the Giants. Tell me why I should like just because they're 6-3 right now. I don't understand it.
So I picked against them with a cruddy Chicago Bears because I got a touchdown in Blazing 5. And my takeaway is, first thing I do is look at numbers. I'm not betting teams. I'm betting numbers. The Giants don't do anything well.
Right. They beat the Saints. The Saints field goal team, ultimately, that when they have their team picture this year, they should exclude the kicking field goal team because it cost them their season. They got a field goal block in the Giant game for a touchdown. Do you realize that?
And the Denver game.
And then last night,
they gave away 10 points.
They gave away 10 points. I mean, so the Saints season is about their field goal punt team.
All right, here's Bill Belichick this morning talking about Brady's injury and Garoppolo. Did he go a little passive-aggressive here? Here's Bill Belichick earlier.
Certainly we have a good quarterback in Jimmy, and Jimmy can go out there and run everything that Tom can run. We've seen that. And when we put Jimmy in there, it's really seamless. He can't, unless you were actually looking at the position, if you just could block out that position and say which guy was in there quarterback, I don't know if you would know a lot of times.
Oh, boy, Mike.
I heard Christine.
So Christine's like, he's a jerk. This is awful. Now,
it's just unnecessary.
Well, sometimes you say stuff.
I don't know. I'm not putting words in Bill's mouth, but I think what he was trying to do is, I don't know what the questions were before that, but he was trying to say that everything in the organization is about the next man up. It's seamless. The guy has to know what to do. And I don't think it's passive-aggressive because at every meeting, he's telling the players, look, whoever's called upon to do their job, you have to be ready to do their job. Seamless to me was they don't change the offense when Garoppolo comes in. It's just seamless. They're just going to go keep running the same thing.
I told Christine, feet, arm strength, Garoppolo to me is better at this age, right?
Right.
Am I correct?
Yeah. No, I think
now knowledge of system,
right, and changing the play and getting in the right, all those stuff, and experience, which matters tremendously in the NFL. Experience matters, but I mean, Tom's a tremendous player. I don't think he was taking a shot at Tom. I think he was trying to explain that whether you're the quarterback or you're the right guard, you're counted on to be play, and the transition has to be seamless, or else you're not going to win.
I don't think he was taking a shot at Tom either. I think he just doesn't think about how his words might affect some of the players, which who says it has to as the coach?
No, I think he does. I think this.
You think he does?
I think he's sending a message. I think that's a message to every player to be ready to play.
So what does Tom think when he hears that?
Tom probably, knowing Tom, the competitor that Tom is he's just probably going to say, I'm going to prove that I'm the better player. That's the beautiful thing about Tom. Tom's like, when Secretariat won that race in the Belmont and it was up by 23, the jockey was still hitting him. And he was up by 23 lengths because the Secretariat wanted to be the best. They're just going to keep running. Tom's going to keep going. And I think that's it. That's how Tom gets motivated. Tom likes it. I think Tom truly, he likes the motivation.
We're always worried how words land for pro athletes. If you can't handle words, you can't be a franchise quarterback.
And the thing that drives me crazy is people that won't tell the players how they're playing.
Yeah.
Belichick has no problem telling a player. Like, a player's come in. I've been in the league so long where you cut a player, and it's hard to cut a player, but you got to be honest with the player. Okay, here's why you're getting cut. I hate the organizations, and I've been a few of these. Well, we didn't want to cut you, but the coaches wanted to cut you. Quit passing the buck. All the guy wants is honesty. Just tell him the truth.
So if Belichick goes up and just says, we just don't like your closing speed.
Look, here's what happened. You didn't do this. We put you in this position. You couldn't do that. Hey, we'd like to keep you around on practice squad. We think you got to get better in this area. That's all the player wants.
At least you know where you stand.
That's all we all want in life.
Why is everybody so petrified? My wife and I talk about this all the time. I tell my daughter this all the time. I want to major in sociology. Well, and find somebody to pay for college. I'm not paying for it.
Right. I mean,
I'm not paying for a sociology degree. Go work at Starbucks.
No, it's the understanding of people.
Am I a better dad if I say, "Oh, honey, whatever you want to major in"?
I majored in sociology so I could get in football.
I minored in sociology.
I paid for my own, but I majored in it because I could draw football plays on all my notebooks. But the reality is, I just wanted to get through school.
Okay. Jared Goff, Rams, what do you make of it? I sense utter disaster.
I think it's got, I think the punt's going to be a nice play for the Rams. But I'll say this, the Rams defense is still good.
Yes.
And the Miami offensive line is going to have troubles. Brandon Albert's not playing this week. They're moving a lot of pieces around. The Rams are really good on first down against the run. The Dolphins are just not going to just run the football down the Rams' throat. I think it'll be a close game. I think it's going to come down to turnovers, and I think Tannehill has played well. It's remarkable how the Dolphins season has turned around strictly on one word: turnovers. That's all. They've committed one turnover in the last 4 weeks, but prior to that they had 12. They've stopped beating themselves, and that's why the Dolphins have won. And the only way the Rams win is they have to get the old Dolphins back to beat themselves.
Mike Lombardi, great seeing you Friday, buddy.
Thank you.
Blazing 5 around the corner. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. There's a big moon out there this week. There's something going on with the moon.
Supermoon, but I think it's over. I think we've gotten through the supermoon.
Well, all I know is I had a lousy week of sleep, and
yes.
and so did 3 people on the staff. And I would submit to you that the supermoon is the reason why.
I would agree with that.
You had a crappy week's sleep.
Awful week's sleep.
You had 1 hour one night. Last night, I got home after a fine dinner with a great dude and an incredible source, and couldn't sleep. It's ridiculous. I'm so tired of being tired.
I think the supermoon, I'll do a little more research, but I think it makes everything feel a little more powerful.
Okay.
So probably your brain's maybe more.
Okay. Greg, take a phone call from any supermoon experts. I'll put them on today. 877-757.
The space people. Let's get them back.
HERD. 877-757-HERD if you're an expert in supermoons. Because I couldn't sleep. Christine couldn't sleep. 2 people on our staff couldn't sleep. It's been a nightmare. Barely got the Blazing 5 done. So last night, Louisville was one of those schools that had a chance to play for the national championship and get in the Final Four playoff. Terrible. Got smoked. Now, I've got to acknowledge, first of all, I try to be authentic. I was rooting for Louisville to get beaten badly. They did. It's nothing against Louisville. It's a fine city. I know people that live there. I got nothing against Bobby Petrino, though he's not the greatest guy in the world, I've been told. I got nothing against Lamar Jackson, who appears to be a really, really great college player. Not sure if he'll be great in the NFL. Could be not. Don't know. Don't really know, but he's fun to watch. And they got blown out. They fumbled the ball a lot. And they had turnovers last night, and they resulted in points. Here's the thing. We knew that Louisville did not have the athletes of Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, or Clemson. We know that to be true. The previous 4 recruiting classes for Louisville averaged 44th in the country. Bama's average 1, Ohio State's average 4, Michigan's average 5, Clemson's average 4. Okay, the reality is I'm going to suggest something, and you'll be upset with it, but it's totally true. I went back to 1998 until 2013-14. Here are the national champions. Florida State, Bama, Auburn, Bama, Florida, LSU, Florida, Texas, USC, LSU, Ohio State, Miami, Oklahoma, Florida State, Tennessee, Bama. What do they have in common? Every one of those teams that won a national title, every one of those teams that won a national title dating back to 1998, in the previous 4 years, had multiple top 10 recruiting classes, more NFL players. We know this to be true. It's painful, but Iowa, you will never have the best roster of talent in football. Well, why do we even play the games? Well, nothing else to do on a Saturday in Iowa, and they're scheduled. You're not going to win a national champion. You've never won a national championship. I'm just being honest about it. I mean, you haven't won one yet, so am I a bad guy for saying it? Louisville, you're not going to win one. And if you do, it's because you got a scheduling break, and Alabama got their star player hurt right before they played you. What is wrong with acknowledging certain things in society that are true but painful? It's easier to be successful with a college degree. That's painful for people that can't afford it, but it's true. Looks matter. It's true. Height matters. It's true. Why do we not acknowledge we have verifiable proof you do not win national championships or even get to the games? The only exception in 20 years is Oregon, who had Marcus Mariota and Chip Kelly, and they lost and got pushed around by a national power, Auburn, who is a top 10 recruiting program, top 10, top 12. Why could you not, if you're on the committee, when the committee comes out, they give you the record, they give you the schedule, and you would have on a weekly basis on the committee a recruiting average in the previous 4 years for the players on the roster. You'd put scout.com, 24/7, rivals.com, ESPNU, whatever the scouting, Max Preps, whatever they are. You would have the 6 top recruiting companies in college football. You'd have an average of their recruiting classes. So when I decide, and I'm getting down to inches, not feet, on deciding it, a deciding factor could be, okay, same record, this. And we know in college football, it's all subjective anyway, because you don't play all the teams in your conference, and all the teams come from different conferences. And then you would include in your consideration is your recruiting average last 4 years. You're going to say it's unfair? It's not unfair. It's the truth. You can't get to that final game. The final 4 teams right now, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, are elite recruiting schools. Washington's not. Wisconsin's not. Louisville's not. Now, John's looking at me like I'm crazy. I've got actual data that proves my point. And everybody's uncomfortable saying this. What are you saying, Colin, that Iowa can never get there? You never have gotten there. Uncle Colin's just telling you the truth. You never did get there, and you're never going to get there. But if you did go undefeated and you won by 12, 14 points a game, you could get in. But you better go undefeated, and you better win by a lot, because I know you don't have the players of a Clemson, Bama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, USC. Am I nuts?
What if you have a really good coach that elevates players? Let's say you take a 3-star and he turns him into a great player in the 4 years he's there.
By the way, Louisville has one and a great quarterback. But when they play in a major conference and they don't get cupcake, Oklahoma, cupcake, here's what happens. They go and get sandblasted. Boise State did this for years. They play dogs. They play in front of 19,000 people, and they have one game on their schedule. Everybody goes, oh, they beat Georgia. Yeah, but Georgia's got to face Bama, LSU, Florida. And if Boise State did and had massive attrition with injuries, Boise State would lose those games. It is unfair to not the little guy. It's unfair to the big guy. I'm not saying Stanford can't get in. When they had Andrew Luck, they were darn good. But they better, if I have to make a decision, Washington, Ohio State's got 25 NFL bodies on that roster. Washington doesn't. I think we should strongly consider implementing part of the committee. You get a piece of paper for all the top 20 teams. Here is the average on the 4 previous recruiting classes over 4 years. Just to let you know, now it's not saying every 5-star guy is great. It's not saying every 4-star guy is great. Not saying 3-star guys can't be great. But they're better. Alabama dominates their recruiting. Ohio State dominates their recruiting. USC is the best team in the Pac-12. The minute they get the right coach or they get rolling, they crush everybody. Got better players. When Pete Carroll took over USC from Paul Hackett, they were a mess. They still had Carson Palmer and Troy Polamalu. Okay, Brady Hoke. The minute they got Brady out, Harbaugh in, blew out 8 teams. Even when they're bad, the USC's in Michigan, Ohio State, they got 4 5-star athletes. I don't know why we just can't be honest about it. Why can't we be honest about it? I was rooting for Louisville to lose last night because I don't want to. Give me a break. The reason they're even close is because their coach, not the bodies. All right, this is the hardest Blazing 5 I've done this year. There's some injuries that snuck up on the Bears. This is the hardest Blazing 5 I've done this year. I will not go 5-0 this week. I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to go 5-0. This is the hardest Blazing 5 I've had this year. Nonetheless, here it is.
Let's blaze it up.
Hope you can take the heat.
It's Colin's Blazing 5. Dolphins and Rams.
Dolphins stayed on the West Coast after beating San Diego -1 at the Rams. I can't believe this line. I'll take the Dolphins -1 to win going away. Jared Goff gets the start, taking on a Miami defense that forced Phillip Rivers into 4 picks last week and has an NFL best 8 picks over the last 4 games. Speaking of 4 games, Ryan Tannehill is a new quarterback. You've never seen Ryan Tannehill play like this, and he's getting help from the running game. In that 4-game winning streak for Miami, they're averaging 180 yards rushing. That's number 1 in the NFL since week 6. I get a defense that's playing well, an offense that's rolling against the sputtering Rams offense. 31-13, Miami wins going away.
Bills at Bengals.
Buffalo Bills get 3 points at Cincinnati. Like it, I love it. I don't understand the disdain for the Bills. Not liking Rex Ryan, I get, but Buffalo's a real football team. They rank 4th in the NFL in first quarter scoring, meaning they don't get behind on the road. They lead the league in 20-plus touchdown runs. They're 2nd in the NFL in rushing yards. You watch this team go to Seattle on Monday Night Football and outplay Seattle. A Seattle team that went to Foxborough and outplayed the Patriots. Buffalo right now is a better football team than Cincinnati, and the Bengals are on a short week after Monday Night Football. Take the points. Bills win 28-26.
Bears at Giants.
Bears +7 at the Giants. I'm going to take it. I don't trust Jay Cutler in Chicago, but I have a rule. If you get humiliated in the NFL, teams generally bounce back. And the Bears have played 4 games this year when they've won time of possession. They're just erratic. But I don't trust the Giants. 8 of the 9 Giants games have been decided by a touchdown or less. The Giants have a negative point differential, -2, despite their 6-3 record. They have a -8 turnover margin, worse in the league. You can't trust this team. Eli Manning still throws some of the worst picks in the league. The Giants historically are a bad favorite. Just when you fall in love with them, they break your heart. I'll take the Giants to win close, 24-22, but I'll take the points.
Packers at Redskins.
I really like Washington this year, but I'm going to take Green Bay +2.5 on the road. First of all, Washington wins, but they don't blow people away. And the reason they don't, they move the ball up and down the field, but they are last in the NFL in red zone touchdown efficiency, which means they get close and settle for field goals, meaning they outplay teams and don't blow them away when they should. And the Redskins have allowed 20-plus points in 8 of their 9 games. Only 3 teams, the Browns, Falcons, and Colts, have allowed that many games this season and that many points. Washington is a hard team to love, an easy team to like. But I'm going to call an upset. Green Bay, humiliated last week, bounces back, take the 2.5, beats Washington 27-26.
Ravens at Cowboys.
Cowboy fans already hate me, so I'm done sucking up. I'm going to take Baltimore plus 7.5 against Dallas. Now, I do think Dallas wins the game, but this is the number one rush offense, Dallas, against the number one rush defense, Baltimore. The Cowboys are 8-0-1 against the spread. It doesn't last. You don't beat Vegas forever. That's why they build those big casinos. They're not losing all year on Dallas. This is too many points against the great defense. The Cowboys coming off a wildly entertaining and energy-sapping win over Pittsburgh. Cowboys win ugly. Dak struggles a little. 24-20, Cowboys take the points. Really, actually, a really good NFL weekend. I didn't touch the Eagles-Seahawks game or the Colts-Titans, two games I'm really looking forward to watching. So I think it's a bad college weekend. It is a tremendous NFL weekend. Getting some pushback because I told my daughter I wouldn't pay for a sociology degree.
Well, it really is the study of people, so you're telling her you do not support her learning how people work?
I support her getting a law degree. That's what I support.
So she has to get a law degree,
no,
or
I'm not
otherwise
saying
you're not paying
I'm
for
not
it.
saying she has to get a law degree. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is she has asked my opinion, and she doesn't quite know yet. And I've said, well, then go for something that's broad and covers a lot of bases, like an econ degree
Like
or
sociology.
Nobody gets a job. They end up working at Starbucks.
My minor was sociology. Mike Lombardi, his major was sociology. We're doing just fine.
Hey, by the way, how many art majors do you know?
A lot.
Where do they work?
Magazines like
Doing
and
what?
Allure. Layouts.
Our researcher has a sociology degree.
Oh, see? Look at us all with our sociology
A lot of sociology
degrees.
involved in looking up stats.
By the way,
it's just that you understand people.
Oh,
you know, I have to understand people pretty well to have this job.
time out. Our director, Sam, has a sociology degree?
Look at this.
Yeah, it'll get you a job at FS1.
So tell your daughter to go get that sociology
I don't
degree.
think I'm being a bad dad. I've said, like my son, I'm paying for college, okay? And my thing is, don't be dumb. Go look, find a passion. Dad'll support it, but don't come up to me and go, I don't know, I do sociology. That's an easy major.
Did you just call us all dumb?
No, I didn't say that. But in today's environment, you guys got majors 15 years ago. In today's environment, science, engineering, dude, get a job. Like, how many people do you? I'm going to major in blank, and you're like, you're just trying to skate through college. You're not trying to challenge yourself. I told my daughter, get a law degree. Do you know how great it would be if you, and my daughter's a good test taker. I was crappy. She's great. And I said to her, you know how great it would be to live in America? 1% of the country maybe knows the laws of America.
Oh, sure.
Do you know what an advantage? The only thing I've ever regretted in my life is not getting a law degree. That's it. I mean, I got a great life. If I would do it over again, I'd get a law degree.
Do you think she has the mind for a law degree?
Oh, God, yeah. She is the world's best test taker. And she's... You know, and I said, you could be a lawyer. You don't have to be. You could negotiate, do real estate. You could do anything. But it covers you in a million different areas.
Yeah, that's true. Is she a good debater?
I don't think that at 15 anybody is.
Oh, I was.
I took a public speaking class at 16 and I bombed it.
Really?
Now look at me. Unbelievable. Do I sound like a jerk? Or do I sound like a dad who doesn't want to waste $150,000 on a sociology degree from Sunnyside State Tech?
You're probably asking the wrong group of people, considering we all have sociology degrees, and you just called us dumb.
I didn't call you dumb. I said to my daughter, who's she's a great student, and she's a great test taker. I'm like, honey, you're going to have opportunities that I'll never have because I was a dope. You're going to have opportunities. I'm never going to have those, and I'm not going to sit here and let you waste them.
I think you're doing all right.
Challenge yourself. My wife and I disagree with this all the time.
She's okay with it.
Yeah, and I'm not.
I mean, we all are doing all right with our sociology degrees.
Okay.
I mean, I have a journalism degree as well.
That does a lot. That and 50 cents get you a cup of coffee. Journalism degree? Yeah, why don't you go work in the newspaper industry? It's on fire. I mean, literally, they're burning papers. It's on fire.
Well, you know, television has some journalism to it as well.
I don't trust those people. They told me Hillary was going to be president. So there's a game in Mexico this week, and NFL Raiders play the Texans. And there's a story here today, CBSSports.com. The NFL reportedly warned the Texans and the Raiders not to leave the hotel during the game. That's true because I was told that by a member of the Oakland Raiders earlier this week. There's also a warning that contaminated meat in Mexico could test as a banned substance. Here's the thing. I totally support the game in Mexico, and here's why. 9 years ago, the NFL started putting games in London. And it doesn't matter if it's the Oprah Network or the NFL. Doesn't matter how big and powerful you are. It takes time for stuff to build. 9 years later, the NFL ratings year to year are up 80% in London. Soccer ratings are down 18%. The NFL has finally hit. They're getting 1 million people on Regent Street. It's finally hitting. It's taken 8-9 years. That's why I laugh when people judge this network. We're like an hour old. The Oprah Network's like a decade old. It takes time even for the NFL to grow a fan base. And remember, Mexico has 120 million people, twice the population of the UK. The game would be on our central time zone. It would be closer. And there are people that are concerned about contaminated meat and safety concerns. Well, that's what I heard about the Rio Olympics and the Zika virus and the crime in the population. And the only reason there was a problem, Ryan Lochte got too many cocktails in him. So as long as you don't send Ryan Lochte to Mexico City with the Raiders and Texans, we'll be fine, apparently. But I think 4 or 5 games a year in Mexico is great. I think it grows the fan base in an important part of the country, part of the world for us. And, you know, people talk about all these harsh environments and Sochi and the World Cup and the Olympics. You know where we had a bombing? In Atlanta. It can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere. And I think it's great. I think London's starting to really pay off. Roger Goodell said last week it's realistic that London could get a franchise. And London doesn't share a time zone. Mexico would share our central time zone. So I'm for it. I'm going to watch it. I think it's going to be interesting. And 4 or 5 games a year in Mexico to our southern partners, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I think it's a good idea. Heard brought to you by TrueCar. Save time, money. Download TrueCar's mobile app. Configure the new car you want. See what others paid for it. TrueCar users save on average $3,000. Save time and money. Download the TrueCar app today. Okay, you're not going to believe who's going to make an appearance on this show in about 3 minutes. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Tyronn Lue was talking about our favorite person, LeBron James. Last year, he needed to have a little rest towards the end of the season to make sure he was ready to go for the playoffs. So this year, Ty Lue is going to manage things a little differently. Here he is.
Well, those are the minutes that me, him, and Mike Mancias talked about. You know, we wanted to get him low, but he said he wanted to ramp him up early and then kind of tailor him down in January, February, around All-Star break. So right now he says he wants to be between 36 and 38 minutes a night, and then around All-Star break, start tailoring him down. So he's right where he wants to be right now.
Are you okay with players doing that kind of thing?
Taking time off?
Taking time off. Resting certain games.
I'll tell you what, man. It is amazing how much controversy that created in Indianapolis. Dan Dakich, fine broadcaster Dan Dakich, Bob Kravitz, terrific columnist. They went after LeBron hard. And the way I look at it, everybody's saying, well, cops work this and firemen work this. Firemen don't have to guard Paul George, okay? Cops don't have to guard Paul George. LeBron James... And it's great that Michael Jordan played 82 games. Jason Whitlock and I disagree on this vehemently. LeBron James is really smart. And he is saying, you fans and you media, you people only now judge me against Jordan. It's now about legacy. So you've decided when I was winning regular season games, who cares? He can't win the big ones. You, the media, you, the fans, were on LeBron James. Come on, doesn't matter regular season. Great players do it in the playoffs. So LeBron's like, okay, 4 or 5 times a year, I'm going to take a night off and a back-to-back. We created this. This is not LeBron. This is the media. This is fans. When LeBron was dominating the league for 8 years, you would never once call my show and give him credit. It was, well, what does he do in the postseason? How can he get leg cramps? I don't know, because he's playing 47 minutes a night, 82 games.
Okay, so he's letting the media get into his head?
No, he's saying, you have defined the rules. I'm taking some regular season games off to be rested for the playoffs.
Okay, there's 2 parts to this. One, would you take days off like that?
I do take days off like this.
Like mental health days?
Yeah, I take 2 or 3 a year.
That's a lot less than LeBron would
No,
be
like
about.
in the summer, getting up to football, I'll take Fridays off in the summer. I'm not sick. I don't go on vacation. I'm getting ready. I know that once football starts.
You're using your vacation days. But LeBron has a whole summer.
What are you saying, John?
Well, we have weekends. You have 2 days off every
Yeah.
week. LeBron doesn't get weekends off. You know.
He gets the whole summer off.
Well, I have to work Sunday in the football season, but I have no. Now, first of all, I'm not telling my staff to take days off. What I am saying, though, and I tell my staff this all the time. What is our rule on the show? We don't do post-show meetings.
Right.
Most radio shows, Mike and Mike did big post-show meetings. I don't believe in them. I think you show up early, prep like hell, let her rip, and get out of here. Get out of the building. Okay, so I'm a big mental health believer. I don't want to talk about the show we did. We're all radio pros. If I stink, I know it more than anybody.
Right.
So leave when the show's over. We don't do post-production shows.
Right.
Okay? That's all mental health for me. Because I've been around cranky radio people. I want everybody to go home, make love to their wife, have a cocktail, come back the next morning, and know that Uncle Colin's got their back.
Well, all right. My second point to that was just that I think sometimes for the fans who buy tickets to go see LeBron James and then he's not playing, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, buyer beware.
Buyer beware.
Well, I mean, I bought Patriot tickets. Brady didn't show up because of Roger Goodell for a month. I got Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, but you just think about the fans who don't get the opportunity to go to many games and they buy tickets and it's a big thing for them. They're waiting all year to do it, and then LeBron doesn't play that game. That's kind of stinky. Also, James Harden is in a new spot for Adidas, and he is defending himself against critics. Here's what he has to say.
What if I gave you what you wanted? You know, stop being creative. What if I lost my swag? Just did the usual, the expected, the normal. What if I was all defense, no offense? You want me to put my game in the box? Boring. So if we send the Euro step back to Europe?
Breaking niggas, leave them calling. Balling like I'm James.
What if I gave them nothing to rap about?
Who am I balling like?
What if we all stop being creative? You really want that? Didn't think so.
Makes a lot of points there.
I'll
Did he
tell you
change
what.
your mind?
I'll tell you what, that's a great commercial.
It is.
That is a great commercial. Now, I disagree with it, but it's a great commercial. It's a really, really good commercial by Adidas.
So you still think the same about James Harden?
Yeah, play some defense and stop making commercials. But I love the commercial you just made. I think it's fantastic. By the way, Carmelo had a great commercial this week, and James Harden just did maybe the commercial of the year.
Wow.
That's a really smart, funny commercial.
Good
and
job,
I like
Adidas.
Yeah, his takeaway is like, man, I'm a creator. That's well done. Whoever wrote that commercial, tip of the cap, well done. All that said, lock a guy down and hold him to 9 in the playoffs, okay?
Ravens defensive coordinator says that Dak Prescott is no longer a, quote, rookie. Here's his explanation why. Quote, I don't know after 9 games if he's considered a rookie anymore. You could say he's a first-year player. I don't think he's a rookie anymore. This guy's seen a bunch of stuff now. They played 3 divisional teams that throw at him everything they can throw at him, and nobody's rattled him. I look at him as another quarterback that's an excellent, excellent talent. I think he is the definition of a rookie. What do you think about that comment?
I love that. No. Not all rookies are the same. They're not. So I think that defensive coordinator says when I watch the film, he's not a rookie.
Yeah.
He's not.
Okay.
His poise, I'm telling you, Dak Prescott, his poise, unbelievable.
So respect. And finally, do you go to malls often?
No, don't like them. Don't like shopping.
Well, okay. Have you ever seen a Brookstone store?
Yeah.
They have those massage chairs sitting inside of them.
Yeah.
Do you go to those massage chairs?
No, I don't.
What? I feel like that's like a rite of passage. When you go to the mall, you go and you sit in the massess chair. It's one of the best things to do.
I'm not a big mall guy.
It does not surprise me at all. Malls are very overwhelming.
Do you like malls?
Less and less. I'd rather go to a specific store
So
or online shopping.
As you mature, you like them less and less.
You got me there, Colin. Okay, the reason I ask you is because Joe Flacco, he's made about $114 million in his career. And he was asked, what is the dumbest purchase you've ever made? And he said he bought a whole bunch of those Brookstone massage chairs. And he thinks it's the dumbest purchase ever. I think it's such a letdown for the American public.
Yeah.
No, it's not, because you go and Goulet, I know you've done it. You go and you sit in the chair in Brookstone, you get the massage, and everyone thinks,
free massage.
If I had like a $2,000 extra, I would totally buy this chair. Well, Joe Flacco did it, and he bought tons of these chairs, and he says that they're not that great. He said it was the dumbest purchase ever. I just feel that's very upsetting.
What's your dumbest purchase ever?
I'm a really smart purchaser, so I don't know that I have a dumb purchase.
I bought a boat once.
That's a really dumb purchase. You know what they say about boats? The two best days are the day that you buy it and the day that you sell it.
BOAT, bail out another 1,000.
Yeah. They're expensive.
It was really pretty, too.
Well, I'm surprised
Where'd you put a boat?
In Portland. I bought a boat, and like an hour later, ESPN called and said, "You want to work here?" And I'm like, "Anybody want to buy a boat?"
So
I went on the water twice.
Same day.
It was really a nice boat, too.
That surprises me that you would buy a boat.
I know, it did. I got ahead of myself. What was I doing? I've never bought a sports car. I never buy. Something happened to me.
Were you like Captain Colin? Were you
I was
driving the boat?
You ever see The Love Boat with Mr. Steubing? I had a hat and stuff. Yeah.
You did not.
Come aboard, matey. Here's a Bud Light.
Captain Colin.
Yeah, I lost myself. Portland's real nice in the summer. I bought a boat. Portland's so beautiful in the summer. I'm like, I'm going to go on the boat in the summer. I did it like twice, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I really want to keep working on the boat. And all of a sudden, the ESPN called, and I was like, I got a boat. It's expensive. It took me a long time to sell it, too.
I bet it did.
It's dumb. No, listen, if you like boats, go buy one. But for me, it was dumb.
Now, if you bought a boat, you could probably like put it on eBay and sell it as like Colin's boat, and a lot of people would want it just because it was
good
your boat.
idea.
You could do that.
Wish I would have thought of that. Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
So this Dak Romo story has been kind of an 8-9 week saga, and the Cowboys play the Ravens. I think it'll be a really ugly competitive game. I'll take Dallas, but as I said in my Blazing Five, I think the Ravens will ugly it down, and Dallas won't run very effectively, and it'll be a really ugly game, and Dallas will win. And Dak's already shown he can struggle against a good defense like Philadelphia. But we were talking about it this morning. In college football, you get quarterback controversies like, you have 4 quarterbacks in a roster. But in the NFL, there have not been that many quarterback controversies. Montana, Steve Young, Brady Bledsoe a little bit, and then Alex Smith and Kaepernick. But this one has happened during the middle of a season and during a winning streak. So Dallas has the best record in the NFL and the best winning streak and the longest winning streak, and they got a quarterback controversy. And it's not really much of a controversy, but it's different and it's unique. And because of this, it has elicited our digital numbers have gone through the roof. Our tweeting numbers have gone through the roof. Everybody that we bring on the show talks about this. And a couple of weeks ago, we told you that Billy Joel had called us out of the blue and wrote a song supporting Dak Prescott. And remember, we played this on the air for you.
Anthony Romo couldn't play anymore. Had a spine that was made of spaghetti. Jerry, the owner, kept an open door. He said Tony can play when he's ready. Well, then Dallas on this quarterbacking. Tony, it's over now. Who needs a veteran quarterback? I'm thinking the Dolphins could use him. Cause he's no longer in his prime. And now there is no doubt. Romo, if that's your backup, then you're sitting out.
So everybody's got an opinion on Tony Romo, including Billy Joel. Well, wouldn't you know, we were contacted by the great Paul McCartney, who was very upset, and for the first time since 1970, went back to Abbey Road and wrote a song, and here's Paul McCartney on this situation.
Romo was a man who should have been a starter, but we knew it couldn't last. Romo went and said his starting days were over. Well, that's just a bunch of crap. Forget that, forget that. Put Romo back where he belongs. Forget that, forget that. It was Zeke who made a maiden one. Come back, Romo.
Wow, who knew?
Everybody is taking a side thanks to Tony Kishman. Excellent job. But it's been really, for my business, it's been a lot of fun. My initial take was I didn't think Dak was a star NFL quarterback. I thought he was a better version of Tebow, that he threw underneath and he ran. I didn't love his delivery. And, he had a couple issues, little things off the field in college Then he came in the preseason, was great. I'm like, it's the preseason. He's facing vanilla defenses. But listen, it's a surprise. Everybody in the league passed on him, including Dallas 3 times. Dallas went after Carson Wentz. Dallas went after Paxton Lynch. This surprised everybody. This is what sports is all about. This is what sports is all about. Surprises. Dak Prescott is the best surprise the NFL has had that I ever remember. I don't ever remember a 4th-round pick taking the league over, at least the league narrative over, the story over, the dialogue over, the controversy over. This is an amazing thing, and it's just been a lot of fun. The last 2.5 months, I had no problem being wrong on this. I thought it was a lot of fun. And thanks for participating, Billy Joel and Paul McCartney.
Who knew they were so inspired by football?
Who knew? Coming up next, you want to know the power of the brand? Boy, did I notice it last weekend, and we'll see it front and center this weekend. There is some sort of a supermoon out there this week.
Yes.
What's it called? Supermoon?
Supermoon, yes.
And it's screwing with everybody's sleep.
I have so much information about it.
Okay, can you please tell me? Because I'm.
Do you want to know right
it's
now?
It's ruined my week.
Okay. So when there's a new moon, it says you focus on personal beginnings, right?
What do you mean new moon?
That's a new moon. Like, the cycles of the moon when it goes like small to big and then goes back down.
Not really. I don't.
So a new moon is when it's like the whole moon again.
Honestly,
okay.
You sound like you've been smoking something.
No, I was maybe drank too much last night. But anyways, there's the super moon. That will make you have a greater momentous tone. So when there's a full moon, crescendos and culminations of events will seem more dramatic and climactic, right? So that's what I was saying. It's more powerful. Like it brings out your emotions.
So this week, my emotions have been pulled from me.
But also, this might play into it in a weird way. It says it affects women's emotions more than anything.
Well, yeah.
Right. So men often during a supermoon are confused with their women's behavior.
Oh, you have no idea this week with my wife.
Right. So maybe that's causing you to lose sleep. It can also mess with your sleep patterns. But all of this together is not setting you up for good
my wife's
sleeping.
more emotional. Okay, that makes sense. Therefore, it's throwing me into a reclusive state. And then I'm not working out, therefore I'm not tired and I can't sleep. That's the supermoon. When do we go back to normal moon?
Right now. Right now.
So tonight
it's
I'll
over.
sleep.
Yeah,
it's been
over.
I am voting against Proposition New Power Moon. I'm voting against supermoons. It's just been awful.
I don't think that you can, maybe we can talk to the space people and see if they can get rid of the supermoons, but I don't think so.
So when Pete Carroll, USC UCLA play this weekend. So when Pete Carroll was there, 2001 to 2009, it's really the best college football game this week. And I said last week, if USC could beat Washington, it was the return finally of USC off probation. We've seen this year the return of Penn State off probation. So Penn State and USC, for the record, both have terrific young quarterbacks. Gutty kids, run around a lot, make plays. Love Penn State's quarterback, love USC's quarterback. So when Pete was here, they beat UCLA 7 of 8 games, most by route. I think Neuheisel knocked him off once. It was a USC city. It just shows you the power of the brand. So then Pete leaves, and from 2010 to 2005, USC is on scholarship limitation. What does that mean? It's time for UCLA to take over the city. So UCLA hires Jim Mora, a very capable coach, good coach, recruiting gets better, play a little better defense. But here's what's funny. They're going to play tomorrow, and I think USC is going to roll them. Because USC right now is playing, they're getting an unbelievable pass rush without blitzing. Their quarterback play is tremendous. They're running the football. UCLA's not. Their star quarterback, UCLA is in a backup quarterback. I think it's going to be ugly. And USC is going to win this weekend and then clobber Notre Dame because Notre Dame's a mess defensively. And USC right now, Vegas, and I agree. According to pregame.com, the Vegas guys that set the best teams have LSU 3 and like USC 6. USC's really good right now. They're not Bama good. They may not be Ohio State good. They can play with anybody. They are rolling 6 straight. All 6 opponents have had their season low point total after playing USC. Like they're holding everybody. You can't move the ball on them. Here's the thing, though. When UCLA had a 5-year window, the first year they go 6-8. Next year they go 9-5, get crushed at a Holiday Bowl. 2 years after that, back-to-back years, 10-3 win average bowls. Then last year, 8-5 lose a bowl. This year, losing record. UCLA had the window wide open, and though they beat USC, they didn't really play any better than USC. Because in that 5-year window with scholarship limitations and 5 head coaches in 6 years, some being interim, USC went 10-2, 7-6, 10-4, 9-4, 8-6, and this year will finish at least with 9 wins. If they go to a bowl, 10. That's the power of the brand. USC's been in utter chaos. Was not allowed by the NCAA for a 5-year period to have as many players as UCLA. Multiple coaches, interim coaches, multiple athletic directors. Chaos. UCLA's had a stable former NFL coach. UCLA's staff has been more stable. Everybody's gotten pay raises. UCLA's recruited this great high school quarterback. If USC wins this weekend, look at the records 5 years. What's the difference? And Jim Moore's a good coach. That is the power of a brand. That is the power of a brand. Michigan State, during the Brady Hoke years, they made a little noise. Played Alabama twice, got destroyed both times. The minute Michigan gets the right coach, snap of the fingers, Michigan's the elite, Michigan State, get to the back of the class. I mean, that is what I always talk about, the power of a brand in college football. The minute Florida, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, USC get the right coach, boom, because the recruiting's either great or pretty good. Brady Hoke, pretty good. Harbaugh, great. Either way, they're rolling everybody. This is still a roster full of Brady Hoke's players. It really is. The 5 best players in the roster, 4 are Brady Hoke guys. 2 are going to be first-round guys. Harbaugh didn't even recruit them. So USC this weekend, and I say it again, is I do not get paralyzed by a record. One of the things, Jason McIntyre at the Big Lead, my buddy on Speak for Yourself, he has convinced me, I'll give him credit, of an 8-team playoff. And I told him the reason now I consider it essential, because of all the sports in America, hockey, college or pro, baseball, college or pro, basketball, college or pro, only one, college football, does not allow you to grow. And it should, because increasingly you're playing 19, 20-year-old boys. They're not men yet. So college football is the only sport. Bad September season's over. We don't do that with any other sport. You're allowed in college basketball to flutter around for 4 months. You don't even have to be ranked, and you can be seeded if you win your conference tournament. Pretty good seed. College football disallows it. Bad September, done. Right now, LSU and USC, unless you're named Alabama, you don't want to play them. Alabama, fine. Everybody else, you don't want to play USC, and you don't want to play LSU. Bad starts, we eliminated them. Last hour of the Herd on a Friday coming up. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. A lively last hour. The amazing Dave Wanstadt, who tells hilarious stories about Jimmy Johnson and others. Kurt Menefee's got a new book. I'll tell you the story about Kurt Menefee when I tried to hire him and was not allowed to hire Kurt Menefee. It is great to have you. And I do this every Friday at this time, Christine Leahy. There's 4. I don't want to watch every game. I'm not going to lie. But I find a handful of games, and I give the networks credit that the games will be on. I try to give everybody credit, be fair here. I bring Peter King on. He doesn't work here. I bring people all the time. For the record, I have tried to bring multiple people on at the place I used to work. They won't allow me to bring them on because they see me as a threat, clearly. I take it as a compliment. They let them on shows they don't see as a threat. They see me as a threat. They won't let me bring anybody on. But I've asked. I have no problem giving others love. So here are the 5 games. Every weekend there's 5 games, and I'll tell you why I want to watch them. Let's start with a game on CBS, 1 o'clock, the Ravens at the Cowboys. Pretty obvious. Number 1 rushing offense, number 1 rushing defense. The Ravens now, they'll get after you. They've got 11 sacks over the last 3 games. So we saw Dak Prescott struggle a little in that first half against Philadelphia. Most impressive to me is he bounced back. He's got a, no memory there. He doesn't let stuff. He doesn't make the first half beat him in the second half. So I think Dallas wins here because I think there are limitations to what Baltimore can do offensively. Their offensive line is makeshift, whereas the Cowboys have the best offensive line I have seen in years. But I think this is ugly, and I think it's low scoring, 1 o'clock. The next game is 1 o'clock on CBS, same time. It's the Titans and the Colts. Really interesting. Now, most of us thought, oh, God, Andrew Luck's going to win this division for years and years. Let me tell you something. The Colts have beaten the Titans 10 straight times. I think it ends here. The Titans are averaging 6.2 yards a play. That's best in the AFC, better than New England. They can run the ball with DeMarco Murray. Marcus Mariota has been incredibly accurate. Number 3 in rushing. And since week 5, Marcus Mariota, 17 touchdown passes. And the best passer rating. Leads the league. I think we thought Andrew Luck was going to dominate this division. I think it's going to change in that one. The next game I want to watch, I can't tell you the last time I said I can't wait to watch the Rams. But it's on Fox, Dolphins and the Rams. First of all, Miami has a 4-game winning streak. And their offensive line has allowed just 3 sacks in that month. And they have a +7 turnover differential in the last month. And they've scored 27 or more points in every game during the last month. So Miami's a different football team. Tannehill last week, best game I've ever seen him play top to bottom. The Rams have Jared Goff. And will it be an indictment if Jared Goff comes out and just stinks the joint up? Will we be saying the Rams don't know offense? From their line to Gurley struggling, will it be an indictment, a really bad Sunday? That game's on Fox at 4:05. The next game I want to watch is on CBS, Eagles and the Seahawks. Philadelphia is sneaky good. The Seahawks and the Eagles both rank top 3 in sacks and rank top 3 in scoring defense, but you know about Seattle's defense. Here's what makes it interesting. Seattle can't run the football, and last week Philadelphia's defense held high-flying Atlanta to season lows in first downs and yards and time of possession. I think this is another really low-scoring close game. And finally, how do you not like Packers at Washington? Washington gobbles up yards but settles for a lot of field goals. And Kirk Cousins, he and Jay Gruden together, it works. They've got surprisingly good skill people. And Green Bay, now Jermichael Finley, is banging on Aaron Rodgers. And Randall Cobb's taking a veiled shot at him. So, I mean, you kind of feel like this whole Green Bay thing, if you're a Packer fan, are you kind of waiting and hoping it implodes completely? And maybe they make a change at coaching? But that, to me, is a really good Sunday night game. Packers at Washington, can't wait to watch it. Well, he works on Fox NFL Sunday. He's been here for a long time, long before I got here. And I tried to hire him years ago. And my news director said, here's 300 tapes. Find the best guy. And I'm like, I can't watch these tapes. It was like Glendive, Montana, and Yuma, Arizona, and like 19-year-old sportscasters anchoring next to a lamp. It was really bad. And then after about 100, I almost quit. Then after 200, I was like high. I was just, and then I got to like tape 330, and I put in Kurt Menefee's tape. And I went to my boss, who was Mike something, and I said that's the best guy. So I was all excited. First of all, I was excited for him, but I was most of all excited for me because I didn't have to watch tapes from Glendive, Montana. So we looked on the box, and it said Kurt Menefee, and it had his agent, and we got it right in the phone. We were so excited. We were going to offer him a lot of money. Portland, Oregon. And they're like, oh, he just got a job in Dallas. Gah! So I had to look at another 300 tapes. And I ended up hiring a really good guy from Eugene, Oregon, Ron Pivo. But let's bring on Kurt Menefee. That's my story about Kurt Menefee, who has got a new book out called Losing Isn't Everything, The Untold Stories and Hidden Lessons Behind the Toughest Losses in Sports History. So you know the Cowboys. You were in Dallas. You were in the belly of the beast. You know the city. Nothing against the Rangers and Mavericks.
Yes.
It is a cowboy town.
Year-round, it's a cowboy town.
When did you realize that when you worked there?
The second I got there. And by the way, my wife tells that same story about going through 200-300 guys and then finally just giving up and saying, okay, I'll take that one. So I've heard that before. No, it was funny because I got to Dallas. I was there Jimmy's last 2 years and Barry Switzer's first season. So back-to-back Super Bowls, then the NFC Championship game lost to San Francisco. And in 1992, ESPN was it for a 24-hour sports channel. Yeah. and they weren't doing football all the time. There was no NFL Network. There was none of that. So it was unusual to go to a place where it was football 24/7, year-round. April, May, June. The Rangers could be on a 10-game win streak, and we would lead the sportscast with the Dallas Cowboys off-season charity event or whatever because the Cowboys are it.
So what was it like to cover Jimmy and then Barry? What was Jimmy? Now,
Jimmy's
your
not
partner.
the same Jimmy that he is now.
He was tough.
Oh, Jimmy was not friendly to a lot of people at that point. Now he's a teddy bear. He's like grandfatherly now. He's a sweet guy. And I go, where was this Jimmy? And then Troy says the same thing, though. He goes, oh, that wasn't the Jimmy we saw either. So he's totally a different guy. But it was night and day because Jimmy was buttoned down. He was, he had his favorite players, but it was still his way or the highway.
Yeah.
Barry came in, and Barry was like, whatever you guys want to do, as long as we meet at the bar afterwards, I'm good with it. Barry let his assistants run everything and was not shy about saying it. He was the head coach, he was the CEO, but he let everybody else do everything and let the players patrol themselves.
So it's more fun for you, Kurt, to cover.
You know what? Winning is more fun. And as long as the team wins, everybody's in a good mood. They're a better story from a media standpoint. Fans love them everywhere they go. People love you wherever you go because they kind of associate you with a winning team. So they did win Barry's first year, the only year I was there with him, but they didn't win a Super Bowl. And that's a big difference when you've won back-to-back Super Bowls like they had in that town.
So you have friends. Kurt Menefee is here. He has the book, Losing Isn't Everything, Untold Stories, Hidden Lessons Behind the Toughest Losses in Sports History, which not only would be a good read, but good for your kids, I imagine, as well.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people, actually, since the book came out 2 weeks ago, via social media. Said, look, one guy said he bought it for his entire youth team because he thinks there are a lot of important lessons in there because no matter who you are in life, you don't always win. I mean, most of us, every single day we go through something, adversity in different degrees, but at work, with your kids, with your family, it's not always puppy dog and sunshine. So you got to find a way to bounce back and keep going from that adversity. And that was really my approach with the book. It's got sports stories, but it's almost like a self-help book told from a sports perspective. You find out from the people that lost games how they had to continue going, people that are really known mostly for losing or for having failed in a big moment, and they have to keep going for the rest of their lives.
Is there a story in particular that it has reshaped their life? The loss has...
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is, and I think we run the gamut. We have people that had professional issues, weren't able to continue their careers because of the losses, drug issues, marital issues. But we also have people who said, hey, it took me a while. Obviously, I wanted to win, but I got to the point where I put it in the proper perspective in the right place. The two stories that I've heard the most about are two. One is the Calvin Schiraldi story. And it's the start of the book because he's had the most difficult time overcoming it. And I always go back to 1986 in the Red Sox in the World Series. Everybody sees that Bill Buckner play in Game 6. And history now tells us that's why they lost. That's not why they lost. If you go back, if you remember the 86 World Series, or you go back and look at it, Boston had obviously a 3-2 series lead. They had the lead in the 8th inning, bring Schiraldi in out of the bullpen. He blows a 1-run lead. He's still in the game as a reliever in the 10th inning. They have a 2-run lead. He gets the first 2 outs, then gives up 3 straight hits, setting the Buckner play into motion. So he loses Game 6. He comes back in Game 7, 3-3 tie, 7th inning. They bring him out of the bullpen. First batter, Ray Knight, he gives up a home run. So Schiraldi loses Game 6 and 7. None of us ever think about Schiraldi, but it was such a burden to him, he said he wasn't able to continue going on, that he put up walls, in his words. The next year, he said the media and the fans were so difficult on him, he wound up pitching only 3 more years in baseball, 4 more total, retired at the age of 29, has been coaching baseball at a little parochial school in Texas. And he said those walls, because he had to try and protect himself from the media and fans, transferred over into his home life. So he wasn't dealing with his family right. He said he wasn't a good husband. He wasn't involved in his kid's life. And finally, in 2013, 27 years after 86, his wife comes to him and says essentially, look, we're going to get a divorce unless you go to therapy because you're not the same guy I fell in love with. You're not the guy I knew before 1986 and all this happened to. And he said she was right. So he's just started going to therapy 3 years ago and is still dealing with this because he said he didn't deal with it back then because he felt such a burden. He felt he let Red Sox Nation down. Remember, they hadn't won since 1918 at that point. That Bill Buckner takes a lot of bleep that he shouldn't have, and that simply he just didn't get the job done. And mentally it has worn on him, and it changed his life entirely.
Wow, Kurt Menefee. The book is called Losing Isn't Everything, The Untold Stories, Hidden Lessons Behind the Toughest Losses in Sports History. I said to start the show today, there's a difference between a star, Charles Barkley, and Robert Horry, who won 7 titles.
Yes.
It's better to be a star in America.
Yes.
Walk around with Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Yeah. Dan Marino never won a title. Either did Barkley. They are stars in America. Trent Dilfer did. Very, very solid broadcaster. Excellent work. But I look at Cam Newton. 6 years into this league, if you take Andrew Luck, I can take out about 10 games for Andrew Luck when he was hurt and just say, take him out. He's an A quarterback. I can take 10 games out of Cam on that winning streak, and I'm like, is he a C-plus quarterback? In 4 key statistics, Cam's below the league average. Now, he's big enough, strong enough, good Wonderlic score, seems to be mostly coachable. But when I heard a quote this week, he's like, oh, I'm in this facility and I'm bottled up. And I thought, dude, I'm not saying you show up late to practice, but how do you define Cam? I define Cam as a star. I don't define him as a great quarterback. I saw it again last night.
Yeah, but, I think that to me, sometimes you have to go with the eye test, and you can bring up all the statistics you want. If you watch him, he can do things other quarterbacks can't do.
Well, his arm's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, his arms is ridiculous. His body's ridiculous. I mean, he's bigger than most defensive ends in the league. And when they are able to run, part of the problem, if you watch last night, this line, they can't protect him. They can't run the football, nor can they protect him in the pass game. So I think some of the issues that we see with him this year aren't all him. It's that offensive line. Not saying that he's absolved of it, because he has his flaws as well. He's not the ideal quarterback. And I think part of the problem is that we have this vision of athletes, and we want them to fit into the role that we mentally put them in.
Sure.
And anytime they don't fit into that role, then they're the failure, rather than it being our opinion may be wrong, or that maybe they're just not what we thought they were. And I think Cam goes through a lot of that, in that people expect him to go out because he can, rush for 100 yards and throw for 300 every week, and when he doesn't, then he's a bum.
Well, I mean, Russell Wilson largely didn't play like anybody'd played. He was 5'11", not 6'3", and because of it, he dropped in the draft. And you watch him against New England, and you're like, that's the best football player in the world. Like literally in the world. So you had one more story. You said that Calvin Giraldi was one of the stories in the book. What was the other one you liked?
Look, it's funny because I like them all, because I've got personal attachments, and I know what it took to get these people to these places, because we asked people to delve deep and give us some deeply personal stuff. And 75% of the people I asked said, once I framed it, that this is not rehashing what happened to you and why you lost. This is what we can all learn out of it and how it affected your life. 75% of the people got it right away, but it still took multiple interviews to get them to that place where it was something gripping. And one of the other stories is that I've heard a lot about is the Rodney Harrison story. The David Tyree catch in the Super Bowl. Patriots obviously trying to finish up a perfect season. Tyree makes the catch against his helmet that everybody's seen 8 million times. And you look at that picture, and right there is Rodney Harrison all the time on the defense trying to stop it.
One of the strangest plays I've ever seen in a Super Bowl. Maybe the strangest.
Rodney says it's the 1 in a million thing. So the reason I found him interesting is because he had already won 2 Super Bowls at that point. So you think losing one game, obviously he wanted to win, but it wouldn't crush him. But this did for these 2 reasons. One, on the play, he goes over. He says he physically thought he broke up the play. He said, I thought I swatted the ball away. And then Steve Smith, the Giants' right receiver, is going, hey, good catch. Get off him. He goes, I go, good catch. And I look, and he's got the ball. And he says he looks up, and he sees the Jumbotron, and he sees the catch on his helmet. He goes, that's a 1 in a million catch. There's only so much you can do. But it bothered him because he was used to making the play. So he felt he made a physical mistake. 4 plays later, the Giants get the touchdown because the ball was still on the 25-yard line. He said this is what bothered him mentally, and this is what crushed him, is that Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator, calls in a blitz. He's Rodney Harrison in charge of the defense. So he gets the blitz call. They call it in the huddle. They go, they line up. He says he sees 5'9" Ellis Hobbs lined up against 6'5" Plexico Burress. He goes, I've been in the league 14 years. I know that's an easy touchdown. No problem. So I say call off the blitz. Junior Seau, who was a linebacker on that team, who had taken him under his wing when he came into the league, Rodney as a 5th-round draft pick with San Diego, didn't play much his first year. But Junior saw something into him and helped mold him into a Pro Bowl player. So he respected him and admired him. Junior said, no, let's run the blitz. He goes, no, let's call it off. And Junior goes, no, let's run it. And he said because of his respect and admiration for Junior, and he knew that Junior wanted to run the blitz, he overrode his best judgment when he knew that they shouldn't run the blitz and didn't call it off. And he admits, had it been Teddy Bruschi, had it been anybody else in that defense, he says, I'm responsible for the defense. I would have just said, no, we're not running it, and called it off. But I use the word love. He used the word admired and respected Junior so much that he wanted Junior to have that chance, and he let the blitz stay on. He says they run the blitz. Eli throws the pass. He goes, I don't even turn around to look because I knew at that point it's a touchdown. Game's over. And he blames himself again because he made the physical mistake on the catch. He can accept that. It's the mental error and going against his own judgment, what he knew was the right thing to do, because he let himself get clouded by feelings and emotion.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
You find that kind of stuff. That's one thing I talk about the multiple interviews. Every person we did in the book, Pete Carroll's in it about the loss to the Patriots a couple of years ago. Everson Walls on the catch. We got Craig Elo, who wound up having a drug problem after the Michael Jordan shot.
Wow.
He wound up in drug rehab, and it's amazing. He's another guy who said he didn't deal with it right away, buried it because his family did. Years later, winds up, and he directly blames it, hooked on oxycodone and Ambien and some things. So he goes to drug rehab to try and deal with it because his family took his drugs away, and he tried to set his house on fire. And why would you do that? He goes, you're a drug addict. Who knows why you do what you do in the moment? And so he finally goes to drug rehab, and he says the first day he's there, he's walking around the facility, and the counselor goes, hey, aren't you that guy that Michael Jordan beat on that shot? He goes, and he starts dealing with it right away. He goes, look, dude, I'm here to try and get better. So this is a burden and it's funny because I met him in San Diego the first time to talk about the book, and he lives up in Washington State. He stands out, obviously. I mean, he's a 6'8" white guy, and that morning we're walking around the hotel, and someone comes up to him, and they recognize him. And you go, well, that was 20 years ago. Most people wouldn't recognize Craig Elo.
Everybody does.
Everybody does because he stands out, because that shot has been on a poster. It's been in Gatorade commercials. It's been everywhere. And he's one of those guys, he said that at some point he learned to embrace it, or he tried to, but he didn't handle it the right way.
Think about this, Kurt. Think about this. Now with social media, that's amplified.
It's interesting because I've had this debate and whether or not it would be tougher or easier. Because I think right now it's brutal. I mean, you make a mistake, everybody, and it becomes personal, and it's about your family and all that. But our attention span is so short right now.
That we just beat up somebody the next day.
Yeah, so it'll last a week, and then everybody forget about it afterwards,
All right, Kurt Menefee, Losing Isn't Everything is the book. Good seeing you, man.
Always good to see you, and we'll work together. We're working together now. There we go.
There we go.
Bring it all full circle.
Full circle. The book, again, Losing Isn't Everything. Good stuff. Man, we have been busy today.
Very busy. It's been a good day.
It's funny. Listen, it's nothing against Cam Newton. Cam Newton's obviously a great talent, but he's not a great quarterback. He is a star, but Greg Cosell came on our show yesterday. He looks at film, and the way he talked about Cam Newton is not what you would say about Peyton Manning or Dan Fouts or Joe Montana. What Greg Cosell says is not how you describe a Hall of Fame all-time great quarterback.
I think Cam is a function of a run game. I don't think he's the kind of quarterback that can be really effective unless the run game is the starting point.
Yeah.
And they've not run the ball with any stability or continuity this year.
He's basically saying, not a great quarterback, he's a function of the running game. And my takeaway, he had this quote this week when he talked about celebration penalties, and he was making it sound like, these were his words, that basically all this work was a real struggle. Like, he likes the outcome. He doesn't like the process. And I've talked about this a million times on my show. I say this all the time. A lot of guys get into my business in radio. They like the outcome. They like the paycheck. They don't like the process. When I first heard Nick Wright, I was like, oh, there's a guy that likes the process. You can't be that good on the radio and not think about it constantly and not prep. I hear a lot of guys on radio, they don't love radio. They think they do. They like the outcome. They like being recognized. They like the paycheck. Like Cam... When I think of Cam now, I think of celebrations, I think of fashion, I think of yogurt, I think, a lot. I think it's a lot of times I don't think, quarterback play. It's not that he's bad, but he's a star in America, but I don't think he's a great quarterback. I watched the game last night. His completion percentage is under 60%. A lot of that's pre-snap stuff. When Greg Cosell bangs on him, a lot of it's pre-snap stuff. Mike Lombardi came on earlier today, and, here's what he thought was the real truth about Cam Newton.
I think a maturity level certainly comes into play, and I think it's hard for young players to understand when you're rewarded with the MVP, you have to get better, and you have to work on it. Well, Cam is never going to be a 65% completion passer. because the style and the manner of which he throws, he's not a true pocket passer. He likes to move around. The throws are more difficult. But what he has to be is the throw he made last night again. That was a great throw.
And again, I'll just put the numbers on the screen. No judgment. I'll just put the numbers on the screen. Completion percentage, passing yards, TD interception ratio. He's below NFL averages. Not below Drew Brees, below NFL averages. He's a star, but I watched him last night. I'm like, it's coin flip. Completion, not completion. Coin flip. I mean, you watch Marcus Mariota, and the improvement Marcus Mariota from last year to this year is like a different player. Dak Prescott comes into this league, 70%. I look at Cam, I'm like, he's hit his ceiling. This is what he is. He's okay. He's got a huge arm, big guy. He's okay. You're brutal. It's okay. But I watch Mariota, and I'm like, oh, my God. Holy mackerel. I watch Russell Wilson against New England. I'm like, on his best game, you can't defend him. He just gets better and better and better. I watch Cam, and I'm like, he's topped. This is what he is. This is kind of what he is. About 57% completion percentage. He'll throw for a couple hundred yards a game, run for 55. It gives you about you 2 touchdowns for 1 pick. Never going to be 3-1. It's what he is. Oh, yeah, it's not bad. Has his moments, but I don't think it's criticism. I think it's reality. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Really quick, this just came out. Warriors GM Bob Myers said that the Warriors are not trading Klay Thompson. So if we take this just for what he's saying, that would mean that our trade is not happening.
That's a bummer because I think it would have changed the league and been way more interesting.
Yeah, and we were both really rooting for that. Celtics.
Yeah, they've really
Warriors
been struggling. Time to make a change. Lost 2 games all year.
We didn't ask you, Goulet.
Yeah, Goulet.
It was just between me and
Goulet,
Colin.
we're rooting for interesting. You're rooting for the Warriors.
Boring. Anyways.
Bummer.
Okay, earlier today we talked about Bill Belichick comparing Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo and saying that it was a seamless transition no matter who you have in at quarterback. Well, Tom Brady did a very rare press conference, podium time, on a Friday, and here's his reaction to what Bill Belichick said.
Oh.
Well, I think everybody counts on the position to be seamless. It's like when I go out there to practice, I'm counting on the receiver position to do exactly what we're asking them to do and to run the right routes at the right tempo and right conversions and read the right coverage. So one guy's in there, it looks one way, and then if you put another guy in, it really looks the same way, so it doesn't screw everybody else up.
Yeah, see? Didn't bother Tom at all.
He's all class. He's just giving the exactly right answer and what Bill Belichick would like to hear.
Did seem a little grumpy.
Remember we were talking about body language? Who was it the other day? You were reading the body language from their... Oh, it was Tony Romo.
Romo, yeah.
I'm reading some body language there.
Tom's fairly bitter.
Looked like he might have not gotten as much sleep as normal.
Okay.
Looks a little like you and I today. Yesterday, Ray Lewis was on Speak for Yourself, and he questioned Joe Flacco's leadership abilities and his enthusiasm for football. Here is what he said.
There's something called talent, right? And you see it a dime a dozen. And then there's something called being passionate about what you do. Gifted? Absolutely. Passionate about what he do? I've never seen that. I don't know what that looks like. He's always isolating himself to go sit on the bench, never talking to anybody after a big play, bad play, whatever it is. Some people will be co-workers, some people will be teammates, and then some people you may call friends. Right? I call Joe Flacco a teammate.
That's pretty harsh from Ray Lewis to Joe Flacco.
I don't think it's inaccurate. He's pretty stoic. He's
not
not
Still
Derek.
harsh.
Yeah, he's not Derek Carr fun. He's not Russell Wilson, Derek Carr.
Right.
Yeah.
So now Joe Flacco was asked about Ray Lewis's comments, and he responded.
It's something that I've always dealt with my personality. When things are going well, people are asking you why it's a good thing, and when things aren't going well, they want to question you and different parts of your game, and I'm not going to sit here and really talk too much about it. It is what it is, and Ray can think what he thinks. I'm here to lead these guys and keep us on top and keep us moving forward.
Appropriate response.
He's just kind of a stoic personality. He's not everybody's a cheerleader. I mean, I don't mind, like Jay Cutler sulks. Aaron Rodgers' teammates fire at him. Flacco's teammates, that was the first time I've ever heard anybody criticize him. I mean, I don't, like, not everybody's a cheerleader. I mean, Marcus Mariota.
You don't like cheerleader types.
No, I don't like sulking. And I do think it's not hard to read body language. Everybody does it. I can read my wife's body language, walk into the house if she's happy or not. Doesn't take that much to figure it out.
How was she last night when you walked
not
into
great,
1013?
Not great, yeah.
Okay. Speaking of sulking, Jay Cutler, there were some reports that came out, teammates questioning his preparedness over the weekend for the game, maybe questions that he had lost the locker room. Jay Cutler is now denying that.
Unnamed source, I'm guessing. But yeah, so I mean, the source could be a lot of people. I mean, it could be a made-up source. I mean, it could actually be guys in there. If people start putting their names on it, then we can have a discussion about it. You do have a performance like that as a quarterback. You're going to get some of that stuff. I don't feel like the locker room has ever. I've never felt like that in the locker room with those guys. But myself and the offense included, like we're definitely working to play better.
What's he supposed to say? And I kind of get what Jay Cutler is saying. When the guys in the locker room you're supposed to be a team together, and they're anonymously talking to reporters about how they don't trust their quarterback and his work ethic, that's not really putting your quarterback in the best position to succeed.
Exactly.
You agree with me?
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised you agree with me there.
I'm out of fight today. I've got 90 minutes of sleep in me. I just give up.
Me too, but I just feel like if you want to win, support your quarterback. Keep it in-house at least.
Yeah, I think
pat him on the back, tell him to face-to-face.
I think the story's been written on Jay Cutler. Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
All right, let's bring on my buddy Dave Wannstedt. Fox NFL kickoff on Sunday. Former Bear head coach, Dolphin head coach, Dallas Cowboy defensive coordinator. More stories about Jimmy Johnson that should be legal. So we're going to keep you on the rest of the show. So I want some good stories.
You know what? I'll wake you up. I'll get you going. We're talking this quarterback stuff. It's unbelievable. I mean, everything going on now. I'm truly.
Why?
Well, because I'll tell you exactly why. I mean, players don't. First of all, from a media standpoint, I remember the days when you could tell a reporter, a media person, now I'm in the media, something off the record, and you have a conversation with. Now there's just so many different angles that these players are attacked from, and coaches, that
nothing's private.
There's nothing private, and the competition is so much to get the story. And these guys make these comments off the record. I thought every one of the quarterbacks that you just talked about, Flacco, Cutler, we had them all on. I thought every one of theirs, I agree with Christine, I thought their responses were right on point. You know what? I mean, everybody's making comments and taking shots at these guys. They don't understand. You can go through, everybody talks about building team chemistry. So we go through all the offseason, the OTAs, training camp, right? We're going to go do all these things to build the team together, and then one comment from one player destroys it all. You know.
So what about Tony Romo? We have the Tony Romo. I don't need to play it. You've probably heard it a million times. But I said I looked at Tony Romo and I said he's conceding the job. Look at his body language. The next day, basically, it comes out that he was told he couldn't start. Like, did you like the way he handled it?
No.
You didn't?
No, I mean, I like the standpoint that he stood up there, and Tony's a team guy. I love Tony. You know what I mean? He's a winner, all those things about him. But Dak Prescott may fall down the steps of the bus, and you may have to go in and start. That was the only thing that I didn't take away from that, was that, hey, you know what? I'm going to be ready to play. I wanted to hear more about that. I'm prepared to win, whether it's at Dallas or somewhere else.
Because he got really philosophical, like he was saying it was all over.
Soul searching and using some. I don't have the exact.
But he was
transcript from me. But it really got deep and heavy. That was the only thing that bothered me. I wanted him to say, hey, as he is, stand up there and say, you know what? This young kid's played great. I've been banged up. He deserves the job. I'm behind him. I'm going to support him. But let me tell you people something. I'm going to be ready to play. Whether it's here or somewhere else, my career's not over. That was the only thing I didn't hear.
Would you ever tell Romo what to say? Because what you just said, I'm like, whoa, that'd have been good.
Well, I think it's the truth. I mean,
but would you gone up to him and said, Tony, by the way, if Tony had to come to you and say, Coach, I got this script, would you read it over and say, why don't you also add you're going to compete for the job?
Well, I would hope he would say that because of what I just said in the opening line. I've had players get hurt in pregame warmups. I've had players wake up the morning of a game and be really, really sick to the point where the trainers and doctors come in and say, this guy can't play. You know what I mean? So things like this happen. My point is his mindset has to be ready to play coming this week against Baltimore. That was the only thing that I thought was missing. Everything that he was said and how he approached it, he's a first-class guy. I mean, no, that's not the issue. It's just that I wanted to see a little bit more. And less in the back of his mind, he is thinking, you know what, it's come to an end.
All right, I want to keep you here because I want your opinion on Belichick this morning. Basically talked about Garoppolo in glowing terms, and I just want your feedback on that. So we'll come back on the other side with Dave Wanstatt. The Thanksgiving countdown about to kick into panic mode. A lot of stress. Make it easy on her. 1-800-Flowers.com. How about a bouquet of 24 roses, multicolored for $24? 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the radio icon and enter Herd. That offer ends today. So Dave Wanstatt, former NFL coach, Bears, Dolphins, Jimmy Johnson's Cowboy defensive coordinator, multiple Super Bowl rings, has more stories about football than any human being I've ever met. So I started talking about Joe Flacco, and Ray Lewis said he doesn't have passion, but he's talented. And you're like, oh, yeah, I coach Joe Flacco. So you took over the job from Walt Harris at Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And Flacco was on the roster.
He was the backup quarterback. Tyler Pelko, who was a good player, was our starter. I take the job in, I don't know, February, January, whatever, and we start spring practice. And Matt Cavanaugh, who now is the quarterback coach for the Redskins, he was my offensive coordinator, great player, in the pros and in college. And all during spring practice. Now, keep in mind, you got 15 days of spring practice. And Pitt went to the Fiesta Bowl the year before that. Yeah. Tyler Pelko was the quarterback, so he's the guy. Half the practices, we don't even have pads on. So we're evaluating him, and Cavanaugh keeps coming up to me and saying, this Flacco guy, keep an eye on him. This guy has got some special talent. So we're watching him, and now spring practice is over. And we said, and the rumors start that he wants a transfer.
So you're in trouble.
Now his dad wants to meet with me, and he was going to leave the year before, but he stuck it out. So we end spring practice. It's Pelko, it's Flacco. So I said to Cavanaugh, we got to do something to keep this kid. So we always had a banquet at the end, and we give out the most improved player and the defensive player of the spring. I said, what do we have we can give Joe Flacco? And Matt says, we don't have anything. We got 6 awards. I said, well, we're going to have 7. Okay, we're coming up with an award for I don't even know what we called it. And maybe it was the most improved something because he deserved it. The guy was outstanding.
So you made an award up.
Yes.
So you could give him at the banquet.
Yes.
So he would think like you loved him. And
we did, but I needed more time to see how this was going to work out.
And he ditched you.
And he ditched us. Matt Cavanaugh and I flew up to New Jersey, and he ended up going to Delaware. And obviously, the rest is history. But I may have missed on a lot of quarterbacks in my day. Okay, but I knew that Joe Flacco was a talented player.
Okay, so Bill Belichick comes out this morning at a press conference, and this is funny because when you coach the Bears and Dolphins, you talk.
Right.
You're a human being. So Belichick says this, and it sounds like he's saying that Garoppolo's every bit as good as Brady. Let's play the tape.
Certainly we have a good quarterback in Jimmy, and Jimmy can go out there and run everything that Tom can run. We've seen that. And when we put Jimmy in there, it's really seamless. He can't, unless you were actually looking at the position, if you just could block out that position and say which guy was in there at quarterback, I don't know if you would know a lot of times.
And Christine was like, that is brutal. She could not believe it. She's like, I'm Tom Brady. I'm furious if I hear that.
No, Tom is been here. I mean, he's not. And what Bill's saying, though, is, and this is what happens, and I've had quarterbacks like this. You've got to play, and you work on, this is how, it's a 5-step drop, and we're reading, this guy 1, this guy 2. We want the ball to be thrown in 2.5 seconds. I mean, all these things are important in making a quick decision, getting the ball out, how long the offensive line has to protect for. It's all part of it.
Right.
So obviously Brady's got the system down. Well, all Bill's saying is that Jimmy understands this. If another quarterback went in there and didn't have that type of training from Bill and the coaches and from Brady,
they'd look awful.
The guy might stand back there and hold the ball, you follow me, for another half a second and be looking for a different receiver, and everything breaks down. He gets sacked at an interception, whatever the case might be. So Bill was, in my spin on it, he's just saying this guy understands our system. And he is going to get the ball where Tom would get the ball. The ball is going to come out as fast as it would if Tom was throwing it.
Okay.
Christine,
do you feel better now?
The whole picture of this thing is going to look the same.
That's right.
And he's also probably Bill's one of the smartest guys in the football business today, and Mike Lombardi knows this. He's probably thinking in the back of his mind, and you know what? If somebody calls up and wants to offer me a trade, you're getting Tom Brady.
Oh.
Hey, no, Coach, I've said this. Tom's 39, going to be 40, and you're going to get Tom this year. And my feeling is you'll let Tom play next year. But we've seen Favre fall off a cliff. I mean, Coach, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered.
But Tom takes care of Tom. I mean, Brett Favre, physically, it fell apart on him because of the style of play he played. Dan Marino, to this day, when it ended in Miami for Dan could throw the ball through this wall, probably today, but his legs went out.
Drew Bledsoe is the same. Drew always told me I can throw it.
Yeah, it's the legs. It's things like this go. And I think that Tom is, from a physical standpoint, he's just in better shape than those guys. Dan had 2 or 3 surgeries, knee surgeries. He wore a brace. He ruptured his Achilles. So he had a lot more problems with his legs than I think Tom has ever had.
I'm just saying, I think Bill Belichick's very smart, but his emotional IQ is kind of low. But maybe you don't need that as a head coach.
Yeah, you're a nice guy. See, you're a nice guy. You would struggle. Did you ever have to be a jerk to players?
Yes.
When were you a jerk?
Were you also
Coach, every year you got to cut about 50 players, and you got. I mean, there's things that go on every day.
When's the last time you were a jerk to a player?
One of the nicest players I ever had. You ever hear a guy named LaRod Stevens?
You cut him?
Coach,
you're a jerk.
Would you listen to the story? The guy was a starter for me at Pitt as a freshman, okay? As a true freshman. One of the finest human beings. That's why he was in the Pro Bowl for the Arizona Cardinals when he as a return guy. In a backup running back. He bounced around the league. He got 5 or 6 years in the league. But he was like 5'5", and he was Deion Lewis's size, 5'5", 180 pounds. All of a sudden, LaShawn McCoy shows up. So you got to make tough decisions, right?
But you probably handled that as a caring person.
Well, I would. I tried treating these guys.
Did you ever feel bad?
Yes.
I don't see Bill Belichick ever even having the ability to feel bad.
Well, I think we're totally misreading this thing. What he was saying, he was pumping, making Jimmy feel good. And Tom and him, he doesn't need to. Him and Tom don't need to compliment each other. They've got too much.
They're like an old married couple.
Oh God, that's the last thing. Tom would want to, get Jimmy ready to play. So if something happens, that he's ready.
Did you ever see Jimmy Johnson was tough when he was a coach? You're one of his best friends. Did you ever see Jimmy cut a guy and Jimmy it hurt Jimmy? Like it was tough for Jimmy to cut a guy.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I am not going to give you the player's name, but Jimmy got close to players. I mean, he truly did. And there's a little. I mean, if the guy was laying it on the line for him and working hard and doing all the right things,
and you go out for a beer later with Jimmy, and Jimmy would be like, "That was brutal."
Yeah, well, yes, some form or fashion. I can't come up with a story right now, but absolutely, he had strong feelings for players, particularly Miami players. We made some trades for guys. Alonzo Highsmith, he was limping, and a great running back, first-round pick.
Yeah.
And we traded for him at the Cowboys, and we knew that the guy was coming off knee surgery and couldn't run. And we put him in there. I don't know what we gave up for him, but the guy couldn't run, and it was painful. I mean, and obviously it didn't work out, and it bothered Jimmy. There's no question about that.
Drew Bledsoe and John Calipari will join us Monday on the show. And so what do you – now you're in here. You just flew in town.
Coach, I got off a plane an hour ago.
And you rushed over here for us.
I got a meeting. As soon as you let me out of here, I'm going to
go to your meeting.
I'm going to a meeting and get ready. We got college football tomorrow. Oklahoma State, TCU, right off the bat.
USC.
How about Washington? Who would have ever thought we've been sitting here saying Washington State and Colorado is, you know what I mean? And they're
By the
both.
way, Washington State's offense, it's crazy. Throw 55 times a game.
Crazy good, and now they're running the ball, and they're playing better defense, and the same thing with Colorado. I mean, they've each got 8 wins, obviously. I mean, they're 2 of the better teams right now in the country, and deservedly so. They've lined up and played that way.
Good seeing you, Coach.
All right.
When you really need to be there, you need an Interstate. The car, battery, auto, techs prefer. Outrageously dependable. InterstateBattery.com. Interstate Batteries. What a show. Friday. Working on no sleep. Got guests that just hopped off planes. See you Monday, the Herd.